This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate what if Naruto sees Sasuke unaliving Hinata. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The young blonde's crimson, slitted eyes glared at the pale snake Sanin. As he battled to restrain his most instinctive urge to tear apart the pale man before him, his whisker lines, emboldened by the Yuki coursing through his body, trembled. The boy bared his long, sharp teeth in a snarl. Still trying to keep his temper in check, Naruto snarled, "Sasuke is going back to Konoha with me, even if I have to drag him back by force. I made a promise that I intend to keep." A chilly voice emerged from the darkness, asking, "And what was that promise, Dobi? To lose to me again?" "Sasuke. Teme," snarled Naruto. Sasuke smirked at Naruto as he emerged from the shadows and into the light, saying, "I'm glad to see that you remember me, Dobi." Naruto was watching two girls, one with lavender eyes and the other with indigo hair, struggle to hold him back. The red eyes of the boy with the raven hair had 3 black shaped marks on the sides. He surveyed the indigo-haired girl's body with lust. Naruto growled ferociously, "Keep your eyes off Hinata. Chan, Arrow, Teme. Come on, Dobi. You know every girl in Konoha lusted after me. I'm a Uchiha. I can have whatever I want." Naruto muttered, "Not every girl," as he turned to face Hinata. Sasuke's eyes became stony. Pulling out his katana, he began to channel a Chidori through it. Sasuke moved forward, putting the tip of his sword an inch from Naruto's throat, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. Sasuke snarled, "Tell me who didn't lust after me, now." Naruto laughed. When Sasuke decided he had heard enough, Naruto uttered 10 names. "Let's see, there's Ino, Tenton, Hinata, Chan." Sasuke yelled, "Enough lies, Naruto. You're just trying to piss me off." Naruto smirked and said, "And from the looks of things, the truth is the way to do it." Everyone except Sasuke and Sakura gasped when he said, "Let's face it, Sasuke. Teme, the only one who really loved you was the pink-haired bitch on my left arm." Sakura attempted to crush and grind the bones in Naruto's arm, but Sasuke just arched an eyebrow. She let go of Naruto's arm with one hand and proceeded to beat him senseless when he didn't even flinch. She was thrown headfirst into a nearby wall, proving that this was a mistake. Sakura stared in disbelief as Naruto's voice became cold and poisonous. "Sakura, if you want to survive any more missions or encounters with me, I suggest you stop trying to harm me or tempt me to kill you." She stumbled, but Naruto became irritated. "But what?" shouted he. Hinata appeared devastated as she said, "But, why? Why would you try to kill me? Why you love me?" Until Naruto burst out laughing. With a dark laugh that made everyone think of demons, Naruto made everyone's hair stand on end. He questioned, "Was my act really that convincing?" A boy with a pineapple haircut said, "Naruto once confided something in me. Can I tell them, Naruto?" "Go ahead, Shikamaru. They wouldn't believe me if I told them," replied Naruto. "Naruto once told me that he was only pretending to be dense about Hinata's feelings for him. He also told me that it killed him that he couldn't return her affection because he has a secret that I'm not authorized to tell you, and if he did, then not only would she become a demon whore, but the villagers would attack her just for loving him, and her family would cast her out on the streets." Shikamaru stated to them. "Go ahead and tell them, Shikamaru. What part should I tell them?" "Everything." Rewind. Shikamaru heard footsteps approaching while he was at his favorite location to observe clouds. When he looked back, he saw Naruto standing there engaged in some kind of inward conflict. "Well, you look like you've got something on your mind. It must be something big, for you to show it," said Shikamaru. With a sigh, Naruto placed his head in his hands and sat down beside Shikamaru. With tears streaming down his face, Naruto uttered, "I just don't know what to do, Shikamaru. I love her, and I know she loves me, but I can't do a damn thing about it." Shikamaru sat up and became alert. Given my knowledge of Naruto, these tears indicated that a significant issue was affecting him. He spoke in a comforting tone and placed a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. "Naruto, slow down and start from the beginning. Who's this girl? How do you know she loves you, and why can't you tell her or do anything about it?" "I swear on my life that I'll offer the best advice I can, and I won't tell a soul unless you allow me to," Shika replied. "Well," began Naruto, "the girl. Well, she's Hinata. I know she loves me with all her heart, and I love her just as much, if not more, but the problem is me. You know of the Kyuubi is sealed inside you, I know. But how? I'm not stupid, Naruto. I've seen the way you're treated by the villagers. And I've heard some of the things they've said about you. Also, your birthday is on the same day as the Kyuubi festival, and nobody ever sees you there. I did a little research, and I found that the Kyuubi is too strong to be killed by a mortal. So, the only alternative was to seal it into a human child. Oh. Well, as I was saying, if I were to reciprocate Hinata's affection, she would be branded as a demon. Whore. And attacked by the villagers just for loving me, and her bastard of a father would kick her out. On the other hand, if I don't tell her, I'll lose her forever. Naruto was crying quietly at this point. Shikamaru thought about this for a while, making his mind work extra hard to support his friend. I love her. So much. That. It hurts. But, she'll only get hurt if I tell her and let my feelings known. Shikamaru said, well, you could tell her and keep your relationship a secret. Naruto gave him a sorrowful glance. They'll find out. I tried to keep the fact that I was pursuing Sakura a secret at first, but they came and told me that the only reason they didn't do anything to her was because her mother was on the village council and she actually cares about her daughter. Well, you could mark her as yours and tell her to wait for you until you have the villagers' respect. You know, like foxes do with their mates, except you put the mark where nobody would notice it. Shikamaru. Foxes mark their mates by. I know. Sigh. Shikamaru and Naruto sat there attempting to think of a way to let Naruto tell Hinata that he loved her while also keeping her safe, but every potential solution brought with it unachievable challenges. When Choji finally arrived, Naruto said, in a low voice and with sadness, thanks for trying to help, Shikamaru. Remember your promise. I will. I promise. Thanks. The end of the flashback. Hinata and the others were in complete shock following this protracted explanation. Since before they were genin, Naruto had been aware of her feelings. For the sake of Kami, since the academy. Furthermore, Shikamaru had known the entire time without telling anyone, not even Choji or his parents. S.S.So. He knew, HH. He knew th.th. That I. Yes, Hina. Heim, but now is not the time to talk about this. Now, I made a promise, and I'm not about to make it my first broken one. Sasuke, you can come back with us peacefully, or you can make it a fight again like at the Valley of the End, but know this. If you decide to make it a fight again, I won't hold back, Naruto replied. Sasuke simply laughed and said, not this time. Sasuke laughed once more and said, you won't hold back? You gave it all you had last time. Face it, Naruto. Dobi, you can't beat me. If I hadn't held back, you'd be dead right now, Sasuke. The Kyuubi wanted you dead. If I hadn't regained control at the last second, he would have ripped your head off. I saved your life, you ungrateful prick. Sakura shouted, stop threatening Sasuke.kun. Sasuke.kun is superior to you in every single way. Hinata said to herself, not every way, and she turned red. She eeped and fled into a corner of the room when she saw that everyone was staring at her strangely. The first to understand Hinata's meaning, Naruto laughed. Heim, I didn't know you were like that. We'll have to talk when we get back to the village. Hey, I guess things aren't always as they seem, Naruto replied. You can go back to Konoha, but Hinata's staying with me. She's going home with us. Orochimaru proposed, how about a match? If Sasuke.kun wins, Hinata shall be his wife. And if I win? Inquired Naruto. You won't. Hinata declared, if Naruto.kun wins, he gets to have me. For the love of Kami, people, and for Sasuke. Teme and Orochimaru, I use that term loosely. Hinata. Chan isn't an object or a prize to be won. She's a human being. I refuse to. You refuse to fight for her? Then she's mine? She's not yours. She belongs to herself, and whoever she gives herself to, and I don't refuse to fight for her. I destroy Konoha before I let you get your filthy hands on her. I refuse to bring you back to Konoha conscious and in one piece. You monster! Naruto shrieked. Then Sasuke began to make some familiar hand signals, saying, just tell me when and where this stupid contest of strength will take place. Right here, right now. Chidori! Exclaimed Sasuke as the air was filled with the sound of birds chirping. As Sasuke used his curse mark level 2, Naruto let out a sigh. Sasuke laughed. After I kill you, I'll have my way with Hinata. She'll bear my children, not yours. Shikamaru's gaze grew wide. Shikamaru yelled, big mistake, Sasuke. Everyone fall back now. As Naruto began to exude murderous intent, everyone stared. Sakura cried out, Naruto, if you... Ow! As Naruto materialized in front of her, his crimson, slitted eyes fixed on her. With such silent rage that his voice shook, Naruto said, I warned you, Sakura. Strike 2. Don't get a third. Being the wimp that she is, Sakura soaked herself and sprinted for the door. Naruto pivoted and confronted Sasuke. Naruto formed a Rasengan and held out his hand, saying, "Okay, asshole, let's do this." When the two shinobi charged, their jutsu clashed, enclosing them in a huge purple sphere that kept everyone from seeing them. "You shall see. In time, you shall walk the same path as I." After saying these final words, Echo left Atoha and headed toward the end of the bridge they were on, where Yurine was standing a mere 20 feet away. Shinjuku heard Echo's final scream, nay, as he vanished in a pillar of black feathers. What a strange way to pass away, huh? 100 years later in Tokyo, everything was going as usual. In the Shinjuku province, the city had all but been abandoned after Echo, the former Caris, or Guardian Crow, betrayed it and wiped out the majority of the human population. But the new Caris Atoha came just in time, and he defeated Echo and brought peace back to the city with the help of another Caris. Shinjuku residents were now commemorating what was now called Caris Day, in recognition of Atoha's valiant and selfless triumph. Yurine, the spirit of Shinjuku and Atoha's partner, master, remarked, "So beautiful," as she peered at the decorations. "Yeah, it is, isn't it?" Atoha replied, kneeling on the building they were atop, his knight. Black trench coat flapping in the wind as he caught a glimpse of Yurine, who was staring at him intently for a few moments before turning quickly away, both of them looking at the celebrations with faint blushes and small smiles on their faces. "She's so beautiful," Atoha thought. The past century had been kind to both Atoha and Yurine. Atoha, being a spirit, and the Caris of Tokyo, had maintained his youthful appearance, while Yurine, being the city's spirit, had grown into a stunning young woman in her early 20s, never having aged further. "He's so cute. I'm glad he's my Caris." Atoha was thinking the same thing about him. Atoha's voice snapped her out of her reverie. "Yurine." "Yes, Atoha? You were looking at me once more. Is there something you'd like to?" Boom. The province was rocked by an explosion in the easternmost sector of Shinjuku, and Yurine and Atoha watched as everyone froze, looked at one another again, nodded to one another, and disappeared. "Amakora." As she and Atoha arrived on the scene, Yurine exclaimed, "Are you ready, Atoha-kun?" Yurine blushed after saying this, hoping Atoha hadn't noticed the extra suffix. Sadly for her, he had. "You do feel something for me, then. That's excellent. Let's get started," Atoha said, looking at the Makora as Yurine began to count. He got into a battle stance as he looked the Makora up and down. It was at least 15 feet in height, with large spikes coming out of its back. Its hands were large, and had 3 clawed fingers, each 10 inches long. Its 6 arms measured at 5 feet and 6 inches long, and were thick and bulky. The Makora's face was built into its chest, its 3 red eyes in a triangle formation. It had the mouth of a moth. A long, thin tube curled into a spiral. Its voice was deep, and sounded much like a blender. "Come, Caris. I wish I could taste your blood," the Makora exclaimed with excitement. And it is Ju, 10. Sway, to and fro, sway, ichi, 1, ni. 2, mi. 3, shi, 4, go. 5, mu. 6, sichi. 7, ya. 8, q. 9. Draw your middle and index fingers across your throat, then point them at the robotic, hideous Makora. "Do it now, Caris," Yurine said, indicating that her power was real. She sobbed. "Yes," Atoha said, holding up a strange-looking pocket watch. The face of the clock retracted, revealing an eye which blinked twice and emitted a golden glow, which spread over Atoha, transforming him into his armored form. See profile for a link to a pic if you don't know what Atoha's armored form looks like. "Let's do this, at last. I can rid the worlds of the one who has upset the balance," Atoha declared, lowering himself back into his battle stance as the Makora roared their approval, shattering the windows of the nearby buildings. "You 3. Time-damned crow, get ready to die," the Makora roared, launching multiple energy bolts at Caris, who easily deflected them before throwing his sword and making a few hand gestures. The Makora lunged as the one sword turned into 2, and shot towards Caris, who, numb to pain and fear since his human birth, didn't even flinch as the serrated edge of the Makora's claws dragged across his torso. The Makora gave what appeared to be a smile, then stood, shocked, as Caris stood back up, unfazed. "Time to end this stupid game," he said, as he froze time and launched himself at the frozen, defenseless Makora. When Caris restarted time, the Makora's final screams reverberated throughout Tokyo. "Well, it was enjoyable. Sort of. Caris exclaimed joyfully, I'm beginning to like this, Yurine grinned. Atoha.kun, just be careful not to end up like Echo, she said, I don't want to lose you. Oh, Yurine. Chan, no issue. I also don't want to lose you. Dispelling his armor as he spoke, Atoha whispered the last sentence to himself, looking anxiously at Yurine and thinking, how did this happen? This feeling. It's been happening so much now it's unbearable. What is it? I feel like I'd do anything to make her happy, and I don't want to ever be without her. What is this feeling? Wait, could it be love? What's wrong? Atoha.kun, I so wish you would tell me. You've looked so troubled lately. Why won't you let me in? Why won't you at least tell me what it's about? Yurine asked, observing Atoha lost in intense contemplation. They were both so absorbed in their thoughts that they failed to notice the huge purple sphere that was encircling them, hiding them from everyone else, and when it dissipated, they vanished. Everyone but the two fighters were blown off their feet when the purple sphere surrounding Naruto and Sasuke collapsed. Sasuke grinned. I'll take pleasure in murdering you. But is she a screamer, I wonder? Well, I suppose I'll find out soon enough. If Naruto.kun doesn't kill him, I will, Sasuke said, causing Hinata's eye to twitch. I won't allow you to come near her. Before you get your dirty hands on Konoha, I'll destroy her. This time, you hideous jerk, I won't hold back. Naruto charged at Sasuke, throwing a left hook, but Sasuke blocked it and threw him at the wall behind himself. Naruto flipped, landing on his feet on the wall, shifting one foot, and launching himself off the wall almost too fast for Sasuke's Sharingan to track. Sasuke braced himself and brought his arms up to block a punch or kick, but Naruto saw this and smirked. Sasuke realized too late that Naruto wasn't going for a punch or kick, and Naruto's full on body slammed him, sending him flying. Jutsu no Kage Bunshin. When a pink blur caused 4 of the orange clad blurs to vanish in clouds of smoke, 5 more Narutos appeared. The original Naruto looked at them and said, let's go. Sakura, growled the remaining blonde. Indeed, Naruto. Baka? Sakura answered in a sickeningly sweet voice, and Naruto sprang forward, defying her guard, and stuck a clawed hand in her stomach, causing blood to fly and splash across the walls and other people in the room. Naruto then leaned forward until his face was just an inch away from Sakura's. Assault. 3, he exhaled. Fuck. You. Naruto. Teme, Sakura said. When Naruto took his hand away, she fell and began to heal herself. Naruto kicked her into the air before launching her at the other Konoha 11 members. Hi, Teme. Dobi, what? Sasuke responded. You know, you would have been dead before the third punch was thrown if I hadn't held back at the Valley of the End, Naruto said with a sly smile. The real reason I was struggling to defeat you was because I was suppressing my actual power. I pulled my punches so as to just break, not shatter, bones, Naruto said, his smirk giving way to a serious expression. To keep your body as intact as possible, I only used Rasengan and my Kage Bunshin. While everyone else was shocked, Sasuke scowled at this. And until you broke my neck and impaled me with that kami. Damn Chidori of yours. I refrained from using the Kyuubi's influence too much. Naruto concluded. Even with the Kyuubi no Yuko's help, Naruto should have been dead before the Kyuubi's chakra could heal him. Why hadn't he been? Kakashi interrupted. You mentioned that you needed to regain control, Naruto. That implies that the Kyuubi took control after you were impaled, correct? Knowing what Kakashi was going to ask, Naruto nodded rigidly. Then how do we know that the Kyuubi isn't still in control? Kakashi's eyes narrowed. Naruto began to transform his appearance into one that was more feral by drawing on the essence of the Kyuubi. Naruto calmly explained, thinking, I know she probably wouldn't do the raping, but I gotta make this believable. If the Kyuubi was still in control, I would A. Look like this, 24/7. B. Have slaughtered everyone in Konoha. And C. The Kyuubi probably would have raped Hina Tenchi and then killed her, just to see me suffer. Thank you. No issue, but please stop tormenting me at night. Ah, you know you love me. Perhaps I do, but I detest the frequent nighttime country runs. Sasuke, meanwhile, was incensed at being disregarded and yelled, stop ignoring me. He cried out, stop ignoring me and wham! Naruto appeared behind Sasuke and used the force of a sledgehammer to slam a fist into the back of Sasuke's skull, causing him to gasp in agony as stars burst in his vision. Naruto then delivered a roundhouse kick to the side of Sasuke's head, and Sasuke smirked and retaliated by grabbing Naruto's foot and sending a foot towards his crotch, which Naruto caught, much to Hinata's relief. And then a straight arm punch to Sasuke's face. Sasuke's head snapped back with such force from Naruto's punch that it almost broke his neck. Sasuke, I guess the Sharingan isn't as flawless as everyone thinks it is. Myaku, Tokomeru, it was simply a fortunate hit, Sasuke growled in response. Then let's see how fortunate I am, Naruto smirked as he continued his spin, this time ducking and launching a low sweep kick, which Sasuke also dodged, leaping into the air. Naruto then swept up in a spinning roundhouse kick, which Sasuke ducked under after he launched a barrage of punches and kicks, half of which he blocked. Dobi, what's making you smile? Sasuke sneered. Naruto did a backflip, lashing out with his foot and catching Sasuke in the chin. As Sasuke flew backwards, Naruto tossed a few kunai with exploding tags behind him, which exploded, throwing him forward on a collision course with Naruto's fist. Using chakra to enhance his strength, Naruto punched Sasuke in the gut, then released the built-up chakra all at once. Senku Bakuretsu. Sasuke crashed into the distant wall. Teme, do you still believe I'm lucky? Naruto grinned as he spoke. As he climbed out of the hole in the wall, Sasuke said, as a matter of fact, yes, I do. Naruto grinned, trying not to show his irritation. That arrogant Teme, he thought, I'll probably wind up killing this jackass. Not that anyone but Sakura would truly care. Then he noticed a chakra signature creeping up behind him. He continued to smile while maintaining eye contact with Sasuke, saying, Habi. Teme, if you want the Sound Village to continue to exist, I suggest that you stop right there. You're playing a bluff. You lack the control and chakra levels necessary to eliminate a whole village of shinobi. I'll have you destroyed by the new Sound 5 if you don't watch what you say. Orochimaru lost his temper. Orochimaru, Naruto's mine. I believed we were in agreement. The Avenger gave a rigid growl. Of course. Sasuke-kun, forgive me, I forgot. Sasuke responded, HMPH, and Naruto let out a sigh. The sound is distinct. As he charged another Rasengan, Naruto remarked, how sad. Sasuke noticed and charged another Kuroi Chidori, saying, Teme, why don't you drop that damned ridiculous Uchiha pride of yours and acknowledge that you will never defeat Itachi alone? Prior to the age of 13, he was Anbu, and Beatzer RRP. Sasuke, clearly furious, lunged towards Naruto and attempted to force his Kuroi Chidori into his chest, but a blur materialized before him. I'll kill you too, so get out of my way. Only after he had slammed his Chidori into the person's stomach did Sasuke realize what he was doing. Hinata. You're a jerk. Hinata. Chan, I'm so sorry, Naruto cried as he kicked Sasuke away from her and caught her as she fell. I really regret not taking action sooner. I froze when you surprised me. Hinata weakly lifted her hand and stroked his whiskered cheek as Naruto broke down in tears. Kun. Naruto. I am unable to. She inhaled, I can't forgive you, at least. I can pass away knowing that, my dear, for you, was given back, in equal measure, she uttered while coughing up blood. Hinata, don't die on me, don't die, please, I can't let you go, I refuse. Sakura, come on over here. Naruto, she isn't in any condition to heal anyone, Ino replied. All right, Ino. Naruto, I'm worn out from tending to Sakura's wound. Which she certainly deserved, if I may say so. Take a pill, soldier. The truth is that Hinata's stomach is gone, even if I did, Naruto. I couldn't regenerate it, not even with all our soldier pills. Naruto, I apologize, but she's finished. Someone has to be able to do something, in a desperate tone, Naruto said. I apologize. Naruto, said Kakashi. No, Naruto tilted his head back and screamed his agony to the heavens as he felt Hinata go limp in his arms. HMPH. She was therefore weak. She's the kind of weak bitch I don't need. At that, Naruto, who had begun sobbing into Hinata's neck, twitched an ear. You. Angry red chakra began swirling around Naruto and Hinata, rapidly forming a maelstrom of power around them, and no one noticed that some of the chakra was vanishing into Hinata's limp form. And you feel no remorse? You bastard. Naruto began to glow red. You killed her. Not a single one? Sasuke? Well. Nope, smirked Sasuke. As the maelstrom shrank and turned into a pillar, hiding Naruto's evolving form from view, Naruto let out a demonic roar. The mindscape of Naruto as the lights began to flicker and cracks appeared in the walls, a woman with 9 long, crimson tails, deep within the seal, saw what had happened and knew what was happening to Naruto. She whispered, he's going insane. Because he lost her. Kyuubi held his composure for 5 more seconds before sobbing. Naruto. I apologize. I'm very sorry, she muttered. Beyond Naruto's imagination, it was still unexpected when Naruto blasted out, shooting towards Sasuke with a clawed hand drawn back and ready to strike, killing intent visible in his very chakra. Everyone watched the swirling pillar of chakra warily, expecting the worst. "Like the pig you are, I'll kill you," Naruto snarled in a demonic voice. Sasuke was barely able to bring his sword up in time to block Naruto's attack. Naruto's hand was impaled to the center of the hand on Sasuke's blade with the sickening sound of tearing flesh. Naruto growled, and everyone stared as he twisted his hand, tearing flesh and snapping bones, all injuries healing instantly as he gripped Sasuke's blade and threw it across the room. "Shit," Sasuke thought. "I'll not lose to him, damn it." He made a series of hand signs and took a deep breath. "Kaden. Housenka no Jutsu." Sasuke spit out a stream of medium-sized fireballs toward Naruto, who just laughed uncontrollably as they struck his upper body, destroying his shirt and jacket and exposing a scarred, toned body. "Is that your best option? You posed a bigger threat at the hospital, Sasuke. Come on, even back then, I was holding back. I think he's lost it," Shikamaru thought, his eyes widening, as Naruto cackled once more and Sasuke growled once more. "You want the best for me? Then give this a try," as he charged another Chidori, Sasuke said. Naruto gave him a contemptuous look and said, "That's your best?" Naruto charged an Udama Rasengan, compressed it to the size of a marble, and then charged it to full size while maintaining the compression. "Die, you bastard!" When a supercharged Udama Rasengan clashed with a Chidori, Naruto screamed as he charged Sasuke. Once more, Sasuke's reflexes narrowly saved him, and a purple dome materialized around them. Yurine and Itoha were floating, both of them confused, thinking, "Where are we?" They were surrounded by a pitch black darkness when all of a sudden a light appeared, glowing faintly at first, then gradually getting brighter and brighter until it consumed the darkness and revealed two strangely dressed teenage boys with their hands outstretched towards each other, with the light's source between their outstretched hands. Yurine sensed the desperate sadness and rage in the orange-clad blonde and exclaimed, "Go, Caris." "Which one?" Itoha answered, glancing between the two teenagers. "Go for the one with the raven hair," Yurine informed him right away. "No, he's..." the blonde yelled. "I own him." A single, solitary tear made its way down his cheek as the light imploded and blew the four away from each other. The two adolescents charged each other once more, trading chest and body blows. The blonde jumped away and put his hands in a strange sign, yelling, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." 10 clones of him materialized instantly, encircling the teenager with black hair. "When will you find out, Naruto? You will still lose because quantity cannot compensate for quality," said the red-eyed teenager. "Sasuke, damn it. Are you really so desperate for vengeance that you had to murder a friend?" The one known as Naruto cried out as a clone snuck up behind the other teen. Sasuke whipped around and lodged a kunai into the clone's neck, causing Naruto to grin sadistically. The clone glowed for a moment before exploding. "I'll show you true power. The authority that comes from defending others," Naruto yelled as he punched Sasuke back towards the clones, one of whom exploded, sending Sasuke back towards the original Naruto, who punched him at the clones again. This process repeated until the last clone exploded as the original charged a Rasen Shuriken. "Die, you bastard. Go to hell and die. As the most powerful of the Biju and the container of Kyuubi no Yuko, Lord of the Fire Hell, I condemn you to burn in the fire hell forever. You will never be forgiven for your sins." Naruto screamed as he hurled the massive shuriken in Sasuke's direction, who was coming quickly. "You assured Sakura that you would bring him back, Naruto," Naruto heard Ino shout. "I didn't mention what condition he would be in," with a deranged expression reminiscent of Gaara's famous, "I'm going to kill you and enjoy every moment of it" expression. Naruto yelled back. Shikamaru's eyes widened and he thought, "Oh no, he's snapped. He really has lost it. Everyone, please leave the area. Kakashi, Jiraiya. Assist me in stopping him." Everyone except Shikamaru, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Itoha, and Yurine fled the chamber as Shikamaru yelled, and Naruto kept beating the now barely conscious Sasuke until he abruptly stopped. "Kageme no Jutsu, success, Shikamaru," snarled Naruto. "I'll be completely honest with you, Naruto. I'm not sure how you're feeling at the moment. I don't want to know, to be honest." Shikamaru tensed, anticipating an attack, but Naruto spun on him, shattering the Kageme no Jutsu, while the demon fox cloak wrapped itself around him with a single tail. "Shikamaru. Why?" Incredulous, Shikamaru blinked. "Why did she have to die?" Am I destined to live a life of loneliness? Naruto asked, tears pouring down his face. Am I never to experience another person's love? Naruto closed his eyes and staggered over to Hinata, but Shikamaru pointed out that, you knew Hinata's love. I was aware of her love, but I never really knew it, he said, fighting back a sob. What a fool I am. I ought to have done more for her, anything at all, but now, I will never again hear her voice. I will always be unable to express my love for her. And we'll never be able to raise the family we've always desired. Naruto turned around, slowly getting up and drawing a kunai, saying, I apologize, everyone. Jiraiya swiftly applied a chakra suppression seal to Naruto's forehead, but before he passed out, the last thing he heard was Jiraiya saying, forgive me, Naruto, please. I cannot allow you to hurt Konoha. What on earth did you do just now? Itoha hurled himself at Jiraiya and demanded. Jiraiya used a kunai to block Itoha's katana, saying, don't worry, it's only a temporary seal to suppress chakras. Jiraiya calmly explained, he should wake up in about an hour. Itoha snarled. What is chakra? I know about temporary and suppression, and what sort of seal are we discussing? Now explain yourself. Itoha uttered those words. You mean you're kidding? It seems that you have no idea what a chakra is, Jiraiya said. No, shall we? Itoha answered. Jiraiya noticed that the other Konoha nins were all thinking the same thing. Is this guy for real? Chakra is. It's a combination of mental and physical energy. Since only ninja are typically trained to use it, only ninja are able to use jutsu, according to Kakashi. So, chakra is merely an intricate energy form. Itoha uttered those words. Yes. Okay, now explain the seal. Well, it's only temporary, as I mentioned. His chakra flow is almost stopped, causing him to pass out. Since most other people only have one chakra source, this one is unique in that it is specifically made to stop the flow of chakra from his second source. Is having two sources of, in his family, chakra? Itoha inquired. No, well. In the world, how many other people have two chakra sources? Only up to 8. Itoha nodded, feeling that he was making progress on this puzzle. Are these 8 other people from the Konoha area? No, they reside in different villages, all right. I'm not whining, but why are you attempting to solve Naruto's riddle? The agonized expression in his eyes. I've already seen it, back when I was still human, and not a Caris, the Konoha nins said in shock, referring to one of their friends who passed away more than a century ago. So, is a Caris a warrior who is ageless and immortal? Kurenai inquired, and Itoha gave a small laugh. Immortal? Absolutely not. We are still vulnerable to death, because we are all very proficient with the sword and have a variety of attack techniques, it's just very challenging. However, we're timeless. Something along those lines, he said. What are you saying? Isn't that physically impossible? Shikamaru uttered those words. After exchanging glances with Yurine, Itoha grinned and said, we're not bound by the laws of the living. Observing the shinobi's astonished expressions, he clarified, I'm a spirit. My city was embodied by Yurine Chan. That is, until we were brought here. He turned to Jiraiya, who was attempting to approach Naruto once more, and said, hold it right there. You have a few more questions to answer. What made you apply that seal? Again, what's the name of the blonde? Naruto. Provided by Kakashi. Thank you. Why did you give Naruto that seal? Knowing Naruto, he's the epitome of devastated right now, Jiraiya said, letting out a sigh and grinning sorrowfully down at him. You saw him for yourself. He was on the verge of killing himself or going crazy with that kunai. He will most likely attempt suicide in some way when he awakens. In the worst situation, he dies before releasing the seal that contains the Kyuubi. Whether they like it or not, Konoha will suffer greatly if he dies, whether it is from old age or, which is extremely unlikely, battle. Why will Konoha suffer greatly if he dies? We will lose our greatest warrior, whether he or they are aware of it or not. Despite being the best fighting machine, he still has feelings. He has a tremendous punch, never gets tired, and heals incredibly quickly. Konoha wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. Why not? Wouldn't this Konoha individual be able to repel a typical killer? Yurine uttered those words. Not wanting to offend these people, Itoha muttered under his breath, Konoha is a strange name for a person. Kakashi's visible eye widened and he looked up from his book. Kurenai and Asuma exchanged glances. Guy began to cry. Shikamaru muttered, troublesome. And Jiraiya just stared. Why? Why you? Are you unfamiliar with Konohagakure no Sato? Jiraiya exclaimed in shock. Should we have? Itoha inquired. Of all the ninja villages, we are the best. Would you be able to drive us there? Yurine said, we want to check on something. You are welcome to accompany us. With a half-hearted smile, Kakashi said, we'll even get you an audience with the Hokage. Observing the bewildered expressions on the faces of Itoha and Yurine, he clarified, the Hokage is our village's leader. Itoha beat the others to Naruto and picked him up and placed him on his back, and as Yurine turned to Hinata, she gasped and froze in shock. Itoha then spun around, katana out and prepared to attack, while holding Naruto on his back. What's the matter, Yurine? Everyone stared in disbelief as Yurine shakily lifted an arm and pointed, not believing her voice. D. Didn't she just have a hole in her stomach 2 seconds ago? Itoha managed. No one could respond, and they had good reason to be stunned, too. There she was, lying in a pool of her own blood, with a rather large hole in the stomach of her shirt and jacket, and her clothes were covered in blood. What shocked everyone, though, was that her stomach was still there, with smooth, pale skin where there should have been a fist-sized hole. If you ignore the fact that her shirt had a hole in it and that she was covered in blood, it appeared that she was simply sleeping. Is she also a Jinchuriki? Jiraiya whispered. Is that impossible? That would account for it? What? A Jinchuriki? What is that? Itoha inquired. Jinchuriki. Power of human sacrifice, containers of the 9 great Biju, replied Kakashi. What exactly is a Biju? A tailed demon is a Biju. Overall, there are 9. The strongest, the Kyuubi, has 9 tails, while the weakest, the Ichibi, only has 1. It is the Kyuubi that Naruto is carrying. Every Biju has twice the power of its predecessor. Thus, up to the Kyuubi, the Nibi, or 2-tailed cat, is twice as strong as the Ichibi, the 1-tailed Tanuki. The Sanbi, as well, is twice as strong as the Nibi, and so on. To put it simply, the Kyuubi is far more powerful than any of the other 8? Is Naruto the strongest person in the world, then? Yurine uttered those words. Oh, I see. Why would you say that? Asuma inquired. According to what we've been told, Naruto possesses an almost infinite amount of energy on his own. He can draw from 2 sources of this energy, and based on my examination of his body, he can use his bare hands to tear down a steel wall that is 10 feet thick. As Yurine ticked off these facts, the Konoha shinobi considered them and nodded. He also has the power of the most powerful being in this world at his disposal, so he is the most powerful being in this world. I suppose you're correct. With pride, Jiraiya declared, he is the most powerful being in this world. Itoha closed his eyes and remained motionless. What is he doing? Yurine turned to face Itoha and said, he's looking at Naruto. Sama's memories. He came up with the tactic in his spare time to use against the Makora. Makora are demons who have abandoned their world and turned into mechanical monsters. Itoha's eyes exploded with repressed rage. He said stiffly, Yurine. Itoha.kun, what's the matter? Everyone but Yurine went pale when she said, I wish to kill them, all of them. Why? This is him. The person whose rebirth you've been looking for. Yes. It's Raiji here, and at some point during his life, he has been terribly wronged by everyone in this room. Oh, please. Itoha.san. Think again. Whether Naruto is your friend from a century ago is a mystery to you. Kurenai begged in fear. His spirit might still be with Kami or Shinigami, waiting for another chance. Itoha glared at her, cutting her off. You might not have heard Yurine. Maybe she didn't fully explain my technique's nuances to you. By focusing on a specific area of his mind, I can access all of his memories, including those that he is unable to access. I'm friends with him. Additionally, I don't like it when people divert my friends so they can cut their throats. Itoha turned to Kakashi and said, or, people who shove balls of lightning through my friends' chests. He then turned to Guy and said, I also don't like it when people threaten shopkeepers to prevent him from purchasing the necessities. And so are people who paralyze my friends in order for others to attack them with impunity, Itoha said, turning to Shikamaru, who, like all the other living, conscious people in the room, was shaking in terror and having trouble breathing from the amount of killing intent being radiated by Itoha. At this point, Itoha's eyes were literally glowing with anger as he turned to face Asuma. People who test out new attacks on people for no reason other than the fact that they have a demon inside them are also on my hit list. But since you made an effort to turn your life around, I'll let you live. However, Yurine will decide your fate, Itoha stated, not even looking at Jiraiya. You make me ill. There was no sign of you, his godfather in this life. When he most needed you, where were you? Okay. You were where? Get back to me? Itoha let out a roar. I was, Jiraiya stammered out. Itoha cautioned Jiraiya, saying, don't lie to me, or I will cut you down where you stand." I was trying to find the village's traitor." Atoha scowled at Jiraiya as he gasped. "Rather than carrying out your role as his godfather, you're a coward." Naruto, who was still unconscious, interrupted them by muttering, "Hinata, please, return. You are necessary to me, I cherish you." Kakashi couldn't contain his laughter. He truly loves her. But he has it bad. It's not just that he loves her. It's understandable why he believed she had passed away and went crazy. She must have been his last hope for sanity. He probably would have ended up like Gaara a long time ago if she hadn't been in the picture. Jiraiya shuddered at the idea. Let's. Damn it. With Sasuke and Orochimaru no longer there, Kakashi swore. The words, "The snake lives on, to lead the coming storm," were carved into the wall. After reading this message aloud, Kakashi swore once more. With his fangs bared, Naruto stirred and muttered, "Curse you. Hubby. Teme. It's your fault she's gone." Jiraiya was frightened when the seal on his forehead abruptly burned away. W. What? But, how? I made that suppression seal especially for him, and it was one of my best. It should be at least an hour long. Perhaps you were wrong. Perhaps. However, it was still meant to. Naruto snarled, cutting him off. You, release him, hurry. Atoha couldn't understand. Why? When Naruto woke up, he threw Atoha to the ground, pounced on him, reared his hand back to strike, and Kurenai quickly put him in a genjutsu while the other Junin senseis moved to pry him off of Atoha. However, it appeared that Naruto had other plans, as he looked around with a pained expression on his face, which turned to rage when his eyes landed on Hinata, then again with a murderous expression on his eyes, which hardened and he started to stalk forward. The Junin, Shikamaru, and Yurine squirmed uneasily as Atoha put himself between Naruto and Yurine, and Jiraiya searched for another suppression seal. Kurenai, huh? Asuma inquired uneasily. Yeah? What transpired in your genjutsu? Kurenai realized her mistake and began to perspire, as did everyone else in the room. I was going to let him see Hinata and then pummel Sasuke and kill Orochimaru. Do you realize that he's taken offense at the stunt you just performed? Correct? Suddenly Naruto was encased in sand. Gaara? What took place? Why does he behave the same way I did? What have you done to Uzumaki, Naruto? The redhead asked in his monotonous, robotic voice, adding a hint of murderous intent to his subsequent query. We weren't involved. The Uchiha was the one. Why is he attacking you, then? Gaara deadpanned. We were trying to calm him, but somebody, Shikamaru glared at Kurenai, got the bright idea to put him in a genjutsu where he saw Hinata. The Uchiha killed Hinata, thereby severing his last link to sanity. With another tail growing in the sand, Naruto roared, the rest is history. Where are they? For killing Hinata, I will kill those jerks. As Naruto continued to struggle, the sand gradually constricted around him, tightening its hold until he couldn't even twitch a finger. Let me go, Gaara. Let me go so I can kill those bastards, demanded Naruto. Slow down, Naruto Uzumaki, until you do, I won't let you go. The demon fox's cloak gradually disappeared, leaving Naruto feeling depleted, worn out, and heartbroken. But Sasuke killed her. Gaara. He killed Hinata. Naruto whimpered, head bowed in submission, and a single tear ran down his cheek. I could have saved her, but I was too weak. Gaara exclaimed, and then a tendril of sand struck Naruto across the face. To everyone's surprise, Naruto remained silent. Whatever became of the Naruto Uzumaki who taught me to defend others? The person who taught me that it's worthwhile to live a life for other people? The Naruto from Uzumaki who never gave up despite his hard work? Gaara blasted off these inquiries one after the other. Everyone gasped, with the exception of Gaara, who simply nodded in comprehension of Naruto's emotions. I get it. Unaware that Hinata's wound had healed, Gaara released Naruto and went to pick her up, saying, I felt the same way when I found that my uncle hated me. Let's get her back to Konoha, give her a proper burial. Wait, Naruto, Kurenai said, with Hinata bridal style in hand. Naruto turned around and gazed at Kurenai with lifeless, dead eyes. Now, Kurenai.san. What? Kurenai recoiled at the sound of his voice, which was also lifeless and icy. Observe her stomach, Naruto, she said, you'll like what you see. Following Kurenai's advice, Naruto gazed at Hinata's stomach, and after a few moments of staring in disbelief, a smile appeared on his face. He was surprised to see smooth, pale skin rather than a huge hole. She's still alive, he whispered, I can't believe it. Naruto checked Hinata's pulse and was happy to see that it was strong, faint, perhaps, but strong nonetheless. Naruto began to cry with happiness. This is unbelievable. She is, in fact, still alive. Still grinning, he glanced down at her face and muttered, I can't wait for her to wake up. As soon as he said, we have a lot of catching up to do, Hinata stirred and opened her eyes, which were unfocused and blind. It's really gloomy. Why am I unable to see anything? Where am I? I'm so frightened. Still hanging limp in Naruto's arms, she spoke softly, her face displaying panic as her blind eyes darted back and forth. Naruto moved to reassure and calm her. Hinata grew even more agitated and said, Hina, Tenshi, calm down. Why? You? Who are you? Where are we? How do you know my name, A&H? I'll respond to your inquiries sequentially. Hinata's eyes widened slightly as she said, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. We're in the Sound Village, Otogakure, she said, and I know your name because we went to the academy together, and I cherish you. Hinata muttered, Naruto-kun. We're still here, correct? Yeah, Naruto said in a calming whisper, we both are. Hinata's eyes began to well up with tears. NN Naruto-kun, she said as tears started running down her face. I'm S.S.SOS. Sorry, W. W. Was you. Useless, I. Hinata appeared perplexed when Naruto said, hush now, Hina. Tenshi. We all know that's not true. All, as in, the Konoha 11, Arjunin senseis, and Jiraiya, sensei. Replied Naruto. Hinata gave a feeble nod as Naruto laid her gently on the ground and said, now hold still while I see if I can restore your sight. The electrical shock had misaligned and fried her optical nerves, as Naruto discovered when he used his chakra to zoom in on her eyes. Hina. Tenshi, this might hurt some, he cautioned her. Hinata simply nodded, indicating that she was prepared, and said, try not to move your head, okay? Alright, let's get started. Naruto began slowly and carefully repositioning Hinata's nerve. As he worked, Naruto thought, Tenshi-chan, I wish I had something to give you. The nerve was still being realigned by Naruto. The world. Halfway there was the nerve, however, all I can offer you is. Naruto continued to focus. Is my heart. The nerve was almost there. My dear. After reconnecting the nerve, Naruto checked to make sure it was firmly in position and not twisted. And your sight returned. In order to heal and reattach Hinata's newly realigned optical nerve to her eye, Naruto shot a tiny quantity of the Kyuubi's chakra through it. It worried the Junin. They were all ignorant of sight. Restorative medical jutsu, and they were certain Naruto was no exception. So far, living up to his reputation as Konoha's most unpredictable ninja, Naruto unexpectedly unleashes a brand new medical jutsu that can restore someone's sight. Of all people, Naruto. But when Hinata exclaimed, I can see again, with a smile, all doubts vanished. Jiraiya eliminated any chance that he was the one who taught Naruto the technique by asking, Naruto, when did you learn that technique? He responded, I developed it on my own a few years ago, while giving Hinata a hug. Are you okay, Hinata? Hinata replied, it still hurts a little, but yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto let out a sigh. Hinata nodded and grinned, allowing Naruto to put her back down as Kiba rushed back into the room. But that was only one eye, Hinata. Chan. We still have one more to go. Kiba yelled at Naruto, Hinata. What are you doing to her, you bastard? Stop desecrating her. Kiba. Naruto uttered while Kurenai held him. Shut up, I'm restoring her sight. How can you do that if she's not dead, if that's what you're trying to say, Kiba. Right, Hinata. Chan, replied Naruto. To Kiba's astonishment, Hinata's response was, MMHM. After a minute, Naruto wiped the perspiration from his brow and completed fixing her eye. He picked her up and said, done and done. He turned to see the looks the Konoha 11 were giving him and said, okay, let's head back to Konoha. What? Unnerved by the looks he was getting in Kiba's glare, Naruto said, hello. Why are you all staring at me like that? Kiba growled, what the hell did you do to Hinata? Chan, you teme? Hinata's voice cut Naruto off as he opened his mouth to speak, his eyes narrowed in rage. Get the hell off his back, Kiba. Naruto-kun restored my sight, she yelled angrily. She had never been this outspoken before, so the Konoha nin were taken aback. Kiba had a sudden realization. Incredulous, he said, no Kiba-kun? You thought I loved you. What do you have that Naruto-kun doesn't, if you hadn't lived pampered by your family and instead in Naruto? Kun's shoes, maybe I would have considered going out with you. Kiba gave a hopeful glance. But, as she went on, he thought, there's always a but. You know nothing of hardship. You badmouthed Naruto. Knowing nothing about him. You tried to take advantage of my low self-esteem for your own desires, and... He what? Roared Naruto. Hinata nodded while continuing to glare at Kiba from where she was in Naruto's arms. He tried to rape you. She said. That's it, dog. Boy. I've put up with you harassing Hinata. Chan. But trying to rape her? You'll pay dearly for that offense. Do what you want with him, Naru.kun. I'm going to be glad to see him put in his place. Maim him, kill him. Naruto laughed out loud. With an evil smile that would rival Anko's, he remarked, oh, he'll be begging for death when I'm done with him. I'm sorry, Raiji, but I can't let you do that, Itoha replied. Naruto blinked. He looked over at Itoha. Now, the Konoha 11 were completely perplexed. But why not, bro? Who is Raiji? Is that the real name of Naruto? They had these ideas running through their minds. Because the village will brand you as a... whatchamacallit? Anukanen? Is that right? We could always say that it was the Uchiha. True, but do you really believe that they'll believe you? Naruto growled and said, who gives a damn? The Konoha 11 twitched uneasily once more. They all, except for a select few, deserve to burn for what they've put me through. Kiba is the first person on that list for attempting to rape Hina. Tenchi, he remarked, glaring at Kiba. Kiba calmly remarked, well, actually, it wouldn't have been rape, she almost agreed. Bro, knock him out for me, my hands are full. No, let me. He tried to take advantage of me about 5,952 times since we became Genin, and 10,594 times since we became Chunin. Naruto laughed. At this, the Konoha 11 turned pale, and the Junin turned red with controlled rage. Well, I'll be damned. The Hinata I knew wouldn't want me to hurt Kiba, much less do it herself. Looks like that shot of Kyuubi's chakra did more than just repair your eyes. Kakashi screamed at Naruto, who gave him a sidelong glance. You injected her with the Kyuubi's chakra? What were you thinking? You could have killed her. It would have been accurate, if the Kyuubi and I didn't get along. WW what? Naruto said, let's go home, as he moved Hinata in his arms. I would prefer not to discuss such matters in the presence of Kurenai, Hinata, Neji, and, surprisingly, Shino all gave Kiba a stern look as he said, our current company. As Kiba frowned at Naruto, who was merrily conversing with the other members of the retrieval team, he thought, Kuso. I knew this would probably come back to haunt me. SS so. Anyo. NN Naruto.kun. You. See. Could you? Hinata whispered in Naruto's ear as she leaned closer. Obviously. Saying the word was all that was required. Do you want me to sing something? Naruto inquired. Hinata cuddled up to him and said, anything that says how much you feel for me. Naruto cleared his throat, produced a number of Kage-bunshin, some of which became instruments, and began to sing. When the images surrounding you make your eyes water. And everything that's around you are lies and secrets. Your strength will be me. I'll offer you hope, maintaining your faith after it has been lost. The person you ought to contact was standing here the entire time. I'll embrace you as well, and keep you in your proper place. Until the day my life ends. I swear to you, I swear to you. I will always love you, in previous lifetimes, and I swear to you that you will never. Will you continue to be hurt? I promise you. I offer my heart to you. This is a victory for us, and with this promise. Now, forever has begun. Simply close your eyes. Every loving day and be aware that this sensation won't go away. Until the day my life ends. I swear to you, I swear to you. I keep falling. When I hear you call baby, without you in my life. I simply wouldn't be here. I'll embrace you as well. And keep you in your proper place, until the day my life ends. I swear to you, sweetie. Simply close your eyes. Every loving day and be aware that this sensation won't go away. Everything I say is accurate. I swear to you. Everything I say is accurate. I swear to you. Oh, I swear to you. When he was done, Naruto bowed his head and closed his eyes. Except for Sakura, every woman was gazing dreamily into space. Naruto.kun. Where did you learn that song? It's beautiful, said Ino. Sheeping, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. To the surprise of the Konoha shinobi, they said, actually, I wrote it. With a smile on her face and tears of happiness in her eyes, Hinata uttered, Naruto.kun. I am yours, heart and soul, until the end of time and beyond. My Hina, Tenchi. Turning a page in his little orange book, Kakashi said, "Well, you certainly live up to your reputation as Konoha's #1 unpredictable ninja." Kurenai gave him a savage glare, and Yurine gave him a perplexed look. With a snort, Kiba stood up to go. Kurenai snapped, "Kiba, don't go too far," and returned to glaring at Kakashi. Kiba muttered, yeah, whatever." Sighing, Naruto set Hinata down beside him and got to his feet. He made a shadow clone and examined it, saying, "I'd better go and calm that fool down. There's no telling what's going through that fool's mind right now." He turned and walked into the woods, and it nodded and looked back at him. As he pounded another tree, Kiba let out a cry of agony, rage, and despair. "A Rio for your thoughts." Kiba turned and saw Naruto slouching carelessly against a tree. Kiba growled and lunged toward Naruto, intending to tear him to pieces. Naruto redirected Kiba's momentum into the ground and questioned, Whoa, why all the hostility, man?" Kiba snarled. "You stole her from me. Slow down a little, Beta 1. Who did I steal from you, and how?" "Hinata. You fucking stole Hinata from me, you bastard. I don't know how, but you did." Naruto began to say, so this is about Hinata, then. You need to loosen up and move on. Let her go. There are other women out there." But Kiba cut him off. "Then resume your pursuit of Sakura. Ikike, Uteme, and return Hinata to me." Naruto exhaled deeply before uttering. Kiba growled before his face was crushed into the ground as Naruto said, "I meant for you. You really need to open up and clean out your ears. Don't snarl at me, mutt. Here I am, trying to fucking help you, and you show your thanks by snarling at me? I'll tell you, if you don't get your head out of your ass, you're gonna die a very lonely death. I'm trying to help you, cause I can't help but feel sorry for your sorry ass." This time, Kiba chose to remain quiet and curl into a tight ball. "Now, listen closely, we're going to go back to camp. When we get back to the village, I'll help you find the right girl for you, okay?" Kiba didn't reply. Naruto let out a sigh. Naruto helped Kiba stand up and said, "Believe me, you'll thank me for this, someday." Naruto felt a sharp pain between his ribs just as he was about to take a step. He sighed as he looked down. As Kiba pushed the kunai deeper into Naruto's chest and buried it to the hilt, Naruto gasped in agony, "Kiba, you just never learn, do you?" As Naruto collapsed, Kiba whispered in his ear, "If I can't have Hinata, then neither will you," after saying, "See you in hell. Kyuubi. Teme." Kiba left Naruto for dead and left. Kiba grinned as he strolled back into the camp. When he said, "Hey guys," he was met with a fist to the face. Everyone gasped when the Naruto Kage Bunshin exclaimed, Why do you try to kill me, Kiba? Are you really that stupid?" Sakura gave an evil smirk, and Hinata tensed in surprise. A Toha materialized in front of Kiba, half an inch from Kiba's face, his katana drawn. He demanded, "Where is Raiji?" Kiba gave a snort. "Who's Raiji?" inquired Kiba. Kiba pointed over his shoulder and said, "The one you know as Naruto. Now answer me. Where is he?" "About 30 meters back that way." "Wrong." Naruto was seen with a kunai buried in his chest as everyone turned around. He gripped it, coughed, and yanked it out, saying, "Damn, Kiba. Do you know how much of a bitch it is to run with one of these in one of your lungs?" He exclaimed, "Damn, that hurts like a bitch." Hinata yelled, "Naruto.kun," as she attempted to stand up. A Toha glanced at Naruto and said, "Raiji, are you okay?" My name's not Raiji, it's Naruto. I don't even know who this Raiji is, or where he is. Sorry. Odd. This guy seems like someone I know. However, I haven't met him before." "Well," Naruto thought, "I'll give this some thought later." "Then how did you know to call me bro?" A Toha smiled slightly and asked. Naruto's eyes grew wide with insight. A Toha turned to face Kiba and said, "You are Raiji reincarnate. You are, or should I say were, my best friend in your past life. Now, to deal with this lowlife, where'd he go?" As if nothing significant were going on, Sakura remarked, "He left for the village." Naruto's gaze expanded. Naruto yelled, "Why didn't you tell us?" At her. Bushy brow sensei. "You two are the fastest here. You've got to stop Kiba before he gets to the village and gets Hinata. Chan's father to force us to stop seeing each other." With Lee right behind him, Guy yelled, "Yash. We will stop Kiba's unyouthful actions for you, and if I fail, I will do 100 laps around Konoha on my HANDDS, and took off. And if you fail that, I will do 5,000 push-ups with one finger. And if you fail, I will do 10,000 squats, and if you fail, I will climb the Hokage monument with my teeth. Lee. Guy. Sensei. Lee. Guy. Sensei. Lee. Guy. Sensei. Lee. Guy. Sensei. The camp's voices trailed off, and everyone shivered. With sly smiles on their faces, everyone turned back to Sakura as Naruto said, "Now." As her priceless hair was burned off, Sakura's cries went unheard. "What to do with you?" In Konoha as he passed the gate, Kiba continued to run and made his way directly to the Hyuga complex. "I must remove that monster from her. Whatever it takes, I'll be grateful to her. He needs to be forced to reveal his true nature." As he ran, Kiba thought, "And I know exactly how to do it." Hyuga compound, after 5 minutes. When Kiba arrived at the gates, he exclaimed breathlessly, "Please, let me in. I must see Hiashi." Sama immediately. This is a matter of grave importance. After exchanging glances, the guard on the left entered the compound and came back a short while later. The guard said, "Hiashi. Sama will see you now, and it had better be important, or Lord Hiashi will be very cross with you. Trust me, Hiashi. Sama will want to know this." Hyuga compound. Research by Hiashi. Hiashi heard someone knock on his study door while he was working on some paperwork. Hiashi. Sama, Inuzuka Kiba. Sama is here. He may enter. Bring us some tea, if you will. Yes, Hiashi. Sama. Panting, Kiba entered. As he sipped his tea, Hiashi said, "Greetings, Kiba. I take it the mission went well?" Kiba sipped his tea politely but quickly. "Yes, Hiashi." Sama. "Ah, that's good. Thank you, but there were a couple of small problems." "Inform me." Hinata. Chan was nearly killed. Then Uzumaki Naruto took advantage of her weakened state to place her in a powerful genjutsu, after attempting to kill Uchiha Sasuke. And before you get upset, Hinata. Chan was hit by a Chidori and lost consciousness, so she couldn't use her Byakugan to counteract the genjutsu. Kiba continued. "Did he now? What is the nature of the genjutsu? Do you know?" Hiashi responded. "It's fooling her into thinking she loves him. I believe she's been under this genjutsu since the academy, and that he reinforced it under the guise of repairing her eyes." Knowing that the Inuzuka was looking for something in return, Hiashi said, "I thank you, Inuzuka-san, for this information. How may I repay you?" "I want." 30 minutes later, Konoha, main gates. Weary from running nearly all night, the Sasuke retrieval team made their way to Konoha's gates. But when they saw Hiashi Hyuga himself standing at the gates of Konoha, their blood ran cold. A smirking Kiba stood next to him. Hiashi cautiously inquired, "Hinata, are you well?" "Hi, Oto." "Sama." "Then please stand." "I apologize, Hiashi." "Sama, but her nervous system hasn't completely recovered from Sasuke Tomi's attack," Naruto said with respect. Hiashi said thoughtfully, "I see. Or, is it that your genjutsu requires you to be in contact with her until you finish weaving it?" With a sincere look of perplexity, Naruto questioned, "Genjutsu? What genjutsu?" Naruto. "Teme, stop lying. Undo the genjutsu, or I'll undo it for you," Kiba yelled angrily. "Kiba, I honestly..." Naruto began to try to reason with him once more, but Kiba refused to listen. "I don't want to hear it. I noticed it in the academy. There's no way she could be in love with the dead last of the class," Kiba screamed. Naruto grinned. This infuriated Kiba even more, and he lunged forward, aiming his claws at Naruto's throat, saying, "Sounds like you're in jealous denial." To be stopped only by Itoha's katana. Before calling Naruto Raiji once more, Itoha stopped himself and said, "I'd watch my step if I were you. I won't let anyone hurt Naruto ever again." As he pushed Kiba away and put his sword away, Itoha declared, "I'll be watching." Demon. Loving scum. How dare you threaten the Inuzuka heir? Hiashi raised his hand, and a number of Hyugas surfaced, encircling the group. He said to the 2 Chunin Gate guards, "I will take care of this, thank you men." He looked over at Naruto. "Uzumaki." "Yes, Hiashi." "Sama. What do you require of me?" "Bring Hinata with us. We'll sort this all out at the Hyuga clan compound." Konoha 11, Night Camp, 1 day's walk from Konoha. On the other side of the campfire from their Chunin charges sat the Junin sensei. At last, Itoha raised her voice. He inquired, "So, how do you all meet Raiji?" "You mean Naruto?" asked Kakashi. Itoha let out a sigh. It was Kakashi's turn to sigh. "Yes, I've really got to start calling him that." Without bothering to mark his page, he put his book away. Kakashi began by saying, "It was about 8 years ago." Everyone could see the tears in Kakashi's visible eye as his voice cracked. "I was patrolling the village. I would have been an Anbu at the time, a member of the village's elite. I stumbled upon a mob gathered around the bleeding and broken body of Naruto." He calmed himself and went on. "I jumped down between the mob and Naruto, charging a rakery on the way down. I turned around and knelt next to Naruto, asking if he was okay. I'll never forget the look on his face. He was so full of hope. Hope that I'd save him from the villagers, and I betrayed him. When he answered me and said that he was going to be okay, I ran him through with the rakery I was holding and said it was the wrong answer." Kakashi was crying now, tears running down his face as they saturated his mask. "There's not a day that goes by that I don't regret that choice. When I realized who he was, I was shocked and disgusted with myself. He's my sensei's son. They look almost exactly the same, and I tried to kill him. After I ran him through, I killed the mob and rushed him to the hospital. I had to kill 5 of the medics and threaten the rest for them to realize that they should treat him. I then told them before I left, that if he had so much as an extra scratch on him when I came back from retrieving the Hokage, I'd kill them all. That was the day I had to hand in my mask. The Sandaime allowed me to retain Junin status because I took Naruto to the hospital and threatened the medics in order to protect him, knowing that they all hated him. After he woke, I begged him for forgiveness and spent the rest of the week with him. I was eventually forbidden to spend any time with him anymore by the council when they found out. The old bastards threatened me with execution." Itoha simply said nothing. He had been reading Kakashi's feelings all along and knew that he truly felt bad about what he had done. He pivoted to gesture toward Guy. "You next." I was running my usual 500 laps around Konoha when I saw the youthful Naruto being beaten. I immediately went to his aid and drove away the youth, killing villagers. I offered to train him to be faster to get away from them, but he youthfully replied that he couldn't take the time out of my day. He then thanked me and went on his youthful way. Kurenai twitched her eyes and said, "I swear to Kami, if I hear youthful one more time, I'm gonna put you in the worst genjutsu possible for a man." Guy went pale. You wouldn't," he said, in a tone too low for him. Kurenai bounded back. "Yes, I would." Guy's hands sprang up to shield his hair. He screamed, "No, you can't take away my hip bowl cut and cool eyebrows." The Junin palmed their faces in response. Yurine said, "Okay, please continue your story, Guy.san." "Yash. After the council found out about me saving Naruto.kun, they told me that unless I did something against him, they would execute me for treason. So I did the least harmful thing I could think of." Itoha interrupted, saying, "You threatened some shopkeepers." "Yes. But I still helped him by sending him half of my mission payment to help his young body get some decent food to grow strong," Guy said with a smile. Itoha turned and glared at Kurenai. "You know the drill. Kurenai.san. I regret this more than I thought possible, and even more so now that I know what Naruto had to go through as a child. I succumbed to peer pressure. I was taking the Junin exams, and we just finished the first portion of it. The proctor motioned me over. When I was standing in front of him, he said that there was a secret, extra credit portion of the exam, and he thought that I was most deserving of this once.in. A lifetime chance." Kurenai breathed deeply. "I thought he was just trying to get into my pants, as most of the Chunin there were trying to do the same. When I told him that he wasn't getting into my pants regardless of whether it worked or not, he just laughed and waved it off. All the reward I need is you making Junin after taking my advice and killing the demon child," he said. I asked him how he could expect me to kill a child, even if it was a demon. He looked at me like I was crazy, and told me that if I did this task, trying to kill Naruto, I'd be a shoe.in for Junin, and I'd be considered a hero for finishing the Yondaime's task and killing the Kyuubi. She sighed. I buckled. That night, I snuck into Naruto's apartment. He woke and he called me. Kurenai began to weep. Itoha and Yurine exchanged glances while Asuma consoled her. He asked me if I was the angel of death, come to save him. I didn't answer. Instead I put him into a genjutsu and slit his throat and left. The next few days were torture for me. I just couldn't stop thinking about that desperate, pleading voice, and his broken, defeated expression. It haunted my dreams, and I couldn't stop thinking about it until I went to Hokage Sama and told him. Needless to say, he was furious. He restricted me to D-rank missions until I made Junin, and further punished me by forbidding me to take the Junin exams for 5 years. Naruto would have been. He was. Again broke down. Her tears were almost unbearable. He was only 6.5, and he'd already given up on life, she exclaimed. Turning to Atoha, Yurine was taken aback. She said, "Is that true?" to him. He nodded, his face hardening once more. "That's horrible. What exactly did he go through?" "Daily beatings, nightly assassination attempts, being a guinea pig for people's jutsus, I could go on, but I probably would wind up killing the entire village in my rage when we got there," replied Atoha. Naruto suddenly cleared his throat and produced multiple kage bunshin. When Naruto began to sing, the Junin relaxed after tensing up. The majority of the kunoichi in the clearing were mesmerized by his incredible singing voice when he was done. In an attempt to distract himself from the memories he had just been made to relive, Kakashi pulled his book out again and began reading. "Well, you certainly live up to your reputation as Konoha's #1 surprising ninja," he said. Through her tears, Kurenai gave him a fierce look. "How can you read that smut at a time like this? Were those tears you were just shedding false?" As he struggled to prevent the memory of Obito being crushed under a boulder, Kakashi whispered, his grip on his book tightening almost to the breaking point, "Kurenai, thesismat, as you call it, is calming for me. You may not approve, but remember this. I have lived through much more than you have. I need something to constantly keep my mind busy, else I'll be overwhelmed by my worst memories. And I can guarantee that 2 days without any occupation, and I'd likely commit suicide." When he witnessed his best friend being crushed once more, he almost whimpered. As he made himself read again, a few tears slipped from the corner of his eye. Kurenai yelled abruptly. She yelled at him, "Don't go too far, Kiba," before turning back to face the other Junin sensei. Atoha looked over at Asuma. Asuma was brought to everyone's attention by his words, "Tell us your story." He muttered, I'd rather not." Atoha began to pull out his sword. Atoha's katana whipped Asuma's cigarette out of his hand just as he was about to light it. "You have 10 seconds to start talking before your head is severed from your body. So you'd better. I want to hear your side of that event. Now start talking," Asuma said. "Nah. You're gonna stop smoking. You're not gonna get yourself killed until I hear your story." "But, it's calming. I could use a little stress reliever, especially for this." "Alright. But if I catch wind of you smoking again, I'll find you, and get rid of that addiction my way. And you won't like my way," Atoha replied. Asuma let out a sigh. Asuma lit what would be his final cigarette and said, "Fine." Asuma took a long drag on his cigarette and then turned away in embarrassment. "I had just made Junin, as had Kurenai. My father had given me my trench knives as a gift for making Junin. I was at my personal training field, training with them. That's when I sensed Naruto. I sensed Junin level reserves in him, so I thought it was some idiot Junin from another hidden village spying on me. I told him to stop hiding and reveal himself. When he came out of the bushes, I asked him if he was having fun masquerading as the village's hero. Yes, I agreed with my father. Yes, I see Naruto as the jailer and not the demon. Yes, I regret not looking more closely at him before I attacked. My father must have been watching through that crystal ball of his, because just as I knocked Naruto out, he showed up with about 10 Enbu behind him. When I told him what had happened, he told me that it was part of his burden." Before Asuma could say anything more, Atoha asked, "What was a part of his burden? And who was your father?" "His insane chakra reserves and endurance. Holding the Kyuubi within himself is a constant drain on his chakra reserves. It's like a constant chakra building exercise. Having the Kyuubi within him, I mean. And my father, he was the third Hokage," Asuma concluded. "Why do you talk about your father in the past tense? Isn't he still in charge?" Asuma lamented, "He died in an attack on Konoha." "I see. I'm sorry. So, how'd you make it up to Naruto?" replied Atoha. "I offered him chakra control training. Of course, my father was ecstatic that Naruto would be trained and better able to escape danger, but the council," replied Asuma. "It seems that the counselors have their heads up their asses if they allowed Naruto to be treated so terribly. Atoha and I will need to speak with them when we get back to the village." "Will your Hokage be able to get us an appointment?" Yurine responded. "She'd better. I hope for Naruto's sake that you straighten those bastards out," said Kurenai. "Okay, I'm sorry to make you all relive those horrible memories, but I wanted to hear it from your side," Atoha replied. Kurenai had an unexpected memory. "Couldn't you have just used your memory reading technique?" she inquired. Atoha gave her a disinterested glance. He asked, "I could have. Why? Well, couldn't you have just used that, instead of having us relive those horrible moments in our lives?" Atoha gave Yurine a look. Yurine shook her head, asking, "You didn't tell them?" She replied, "I didn't have enough time." Kakashi questioned, What didn't she tell us? The other Junin was startled when Guy spoke up again. Yash. Please tell us your secret. Atoha.san. Enlighten us. He screamed. He was given an upside down head bonk by Kurenai. Not so loud, but yes, tell us. Atoha let out a sigh. As Kiba walked back into the clearing, Naruto's Cage Bunshin punched him in the face. I've discovered that unless my target is unconscious, they see the memories that I am looking at. That's how I demoralize the stronger Makura. Atoha apparently shunned Kiba when the clone yelled at him, asking why he had attempted to kill Naruto. Atoha demanded, "Where is Raiji?" "Who's Raiji?" Kiba asked with a huff. With an almost imperceptible laugh, Kiba said, "The one you know as Naruto. Now answer my question. Where is he?" Kiba pointed over his shoulder and said, "About 30 meters back that way." From the tree line, Naruto uttered the words, "Wrong." He coughed up some blood and leaned heavily against a tree. Naruto coughed and yanked the kunai out of his lung, saying, "Damn, Kiba. Do you know how much of a bitch it is to run with one of these things in one of your lungs?" Hinata screamed, "Naruto.kun," as she fought and failed to move her body to Naruto. Following a brief examination by Atoha, Sakura informed them that Kiba had gone to the village, which caused Naruto to become alarmed. He asked Lee and Guy to try to stop Kiba by catching up to him. Sakura's hair was burned off, and then they packed up and flew at full speed. Front gate of Konoha. The Konoha 11 saw Hiashi and Kiba waiting for them as they got closer to the font gates, and their blood ran cold. Hiashi cautiously inquired, "Hinata, are you well?" "Hi, Oto." "Sama." "Then please stand." "I apologize, Hiashi." "Sama, but her nervous system hasn't completely recovered from Sasuke Tomi's attack," Naruto said with respect. Hiashi said thoughtfully, "I see. Or, is it that your genjutsu requires you to be in contact with her until you finish weaving it?" With a sincere look of perplexity, Naruto questioned, "Genjutsu? What genjutsu?" Naruto. "Teme, stop lying. Undo the genjutsu, or I'll undo it for you," Kiba yelled angrily. "Kiba, I honestly..." Naruto began to try to reason with him once more, but Kiba refused to listen. "I don't want to hear it. I noticed it in the academy. There's no way she could be in love with the dead last of the class," Kiba screamed. Naruto grinned. This infuriated Kiba even more, and he lunged forward, aiming his claws at Naruto's throat, saying, "Sounds like you're in jealous denial." To be stopped only by Atoha's katana. Before calling Naruto Raiji once more, Atoha stopped himself and said, "I'd watch my step if I were you. I won't let anyone hurt Naruto ever again." As he pushed Kiba away and put his sword away, Atoha declared, "I'll be watching." "Demon. Loving scum. How dare you threaten the Inuzuka heir?" Hiashi raised his hand, and a number of Hyugas surfaced, encircling the group. He said to the two Chunin Gate guards, "I will take care of this, thank you men." He looked over at Naruto. "Uzumaki." "Yes, Hiashi." "Sama. What do you require of me?" "Bring Hinata with us. We'll sort this all out at the Hyuga clan compound." Thoughts and anxieties were racing through Naruto's head. What did Kiba say to him? What if Kiba was right? How will I respond if I have to avoid Hinata? He was frightened by that final thought. Losing Hinata was more terrifying to him than battle against S-class Nukenin, blasting his way out of a bandit camp using only taijutsu and ninjutsu and no weapons, and falling off a 1,000-foot cliff. The only thing that kept him going was Hinata. He was unsure of what he would do if she disappeared. Hinata jolted him out of his reverie with a whisper, "Naruto.kun." Yes, Hina. Tenshi? Naruto became aware that he was holding her so tightly that his knuckles were white. You're hurting me," he said. At once he relaxed his hold slightly. "Sorry, Hinata. Chan. I'm just worried, ya know. What if your father separates us just because of my burden? What if he actually believes Kiba? What if..." Naruto. "Oji, too, my father may be strict and harsh, but he's always been fair. At the very least, he'll hear you out before making his decision." Hinata reassured him. Naruto sighed with relief. "Well, that makes me feel a little better." Hyuga Compound, research by Hiashi. Before stopping a branch member and requesting that he bring them some tea, Hiashi opened the door and gestured for the two genin and one junin to enter. Calmly, Hiashi said, "Please, sit, Uzumaki-san. We are all friends here." Before taking a seat in front of Hiashi, Naruto knelt to ensure Hinata was seated steadily. Hiashi made a note of this. Before settling in, he checked to make sure Hinata was at ease. Kiba did nothing, however. Hiashi allowed himself a tiny smile as the branch member came in, poured their tea, bowed, and departed. If that's the case, Hiashi Sama, then please call me Naruto. Very well, Naruto-san. I hear you have recently made Junin, am I correct? Hiashi responded. Well, actually, Chan forced it on me. I wanted to take the exam and earn my position, but she just said that she could promote me, whether I passed or not cause she's the Hokage. So, that's how it happened, replied Naruto. Hiashi gave a nod. And how did your most recent mission go? Well, aside from Hina, Tenchi nearly dying and the Uchiha bastard escaping again, it went well. Fill me in on the details, Naruto-san. Well, Naruto began. We found our way into Otto, and after incapacitating any who got in our way, we eventually found our way into the snake fag's lair. After a short argument with it, Sasuke Teme revealed himself and started looking at Hina Tenchi like she was a piece of meat. Naturally, I didn't take this well, and the only reason I didn't kill the bastard right then and there was because Sakura and Hina Tenchi were restraining me. Sasuke and I fought for a little bit, then he tried to hit me with a Chidori when I tried to reason with the bastard. That was when Hinata Chan came in and took the hit for me. When she died, I let my grief and rage take over, and I tried to kill the bastard. Shikamaru, Ero, Sennin, and Kurenai Sensei managed to stall me for a little bit, but when I broke out of Kurenai Sensei's genjutsu, I had nearly lost myself in the rage that clouded me. It was only because of Gaara that the retrieval team is still alive. Just a moment, Naruto-san. You said that Hinata died. Would you care to tell me how she is sitting here with us? Hiashi replied. Looking at Kiba thoughtfully, Naruto remarked, some information is only to be shared among friends. I see. Please continue. Well, that was when it was revealed to me that Hina Tenchi was alive. I've never been so happy in my life. But that happiness was short-lived, however, as we soon realized that because of the amount of power in the Chidori that hit her, Hina Tenchi was blind. However, I soon fixed that with a jutsu that I created myself. On the way home, though, was when our biggest problem came up. Dumbass here, Naruto said, before Hinata interrupted him. She warned, Naru-kun. Language, Naruto complained, but Hina Tenchi, that's what he is. Hiashi hardly held back a laugh. Hinata firmly stated, no buts, watch your language around my father until we're married. But, began Naruto. Hinata asked perilously, what did I just say? With a sigh, Naruto admitted defeat. Yes, Hinata. Hiashi did chuckle this time. The 316-year-olds gave him a disbelieving look. Well, I'll be the Shodai's uncle. A Hyuga, laughing? That's a first, Naruto replied. You'll have to forgive me for that outburst. It's just, watching you two argue reminded me of myself and my wife before we married. Hiashi responded with a calm voice. Please, continue. All right. Well, the idiot, here, tried to kill me when I went and offered to help him find a girl. Instead, he stabbed me and left me for dead. I went back to camp, he snuck off while the rest of us were preoccupied, and here we are. Naruto concluded. Hiashi nodded, mentally reviewing everything he had said. He nodded to himself when he was sure he could find nothing inconsistent. Well, Naruto-san, it seems that your story is sound. However, the Council of Elders will never agree to allow you to marry either of my daughters. Kiba laughed. I therefore receive Hinata. You damned fox, take it, Kiba pondered. Unless, said Hiashi thoughtfully. He pointed to Naruto and Kiba and said, you two could fight each other to determine who gets my daughter's hand in marriage. Is this acceptable? He glanced between the two boys to see how they responded. Naruto inquired, what are the terms of conduct for this fight? Hiashi said, if you two agree, we'll figure them out now. Naruto gave Hiashi a level look. I will put my life on the line for her. Name your conditions. He responded. Kiba gave a nod of agreement. They talked about and wrote down the fight's rules over the course of the following few hours. Now, I just need you to sign here. Both of you. By signing, you agree to all terms and conditions written herein. After dipping the brush in ink, Naruto signed the contract. Kiba followed suit after he was done. Very well. I will take this before the elders, and we shall notify you of when the fight will take place. You may go, Inuzuka-san. Naruto-san, I wish to know how you resurrected my daughter. As Naruto explained the events of the previous few days, Atoha and Yurine looked on from the other side of the courtyard through the window. However, Atoha heard a tap on his shoulder around the halfway point. His katana sang as it flew out of its sheath, sliced through the air, and made a solid connection with the sheath of another katana as he jumped to his feet and spun around out of reflex. Looking up and down the speaker's body, Atoha said, "Wow, nice to see you again, too, Atoha." "Hi Yurine." His eyes grew wide as he recognized the person he was staring at. She teased Atoha during this time. Atoha flushed as she teasingly lifted a corner of her mid-thigh length skirt and said, "Like the view? I could give you a better one." They both laughed. No, I mean, I. Yurine and Amafuriko laughed once more as Atoha turned away in shame. "So, Amafuriko, you can still do it, too. It's amazing that he's completely emotionless any other time, but we give him a little tease and he stutters like a fool. 50 years. 50 years they've been doing this to me. When are they going to get tired of it?" he grumbled. The two women exchanged glances before turning to face him. "Never," they all agreed, and then burst out laughing once more. Atoha shook his head and resumed his speech. "So, Amafuriko, what are you doing here? How did you get here?" she laughed. Amafuriko clarified, "Beats me. I was on my way to visit you too when I blacked out." She gestured toward the big stone cliffs at the village's far end. "I came to up there about 10 minutes ago. I decided to sightsee while I figured out what part of Japan I was." Yurine said bluntly, "This isn't Japan." At this point, Atoha made the decision to ask the question that had been bothering him ever since Amafuriko had arrived. "We're in some alternate world, a place called the Elemental Nations. Atoha and I were still trying to figure out a way to get back home, or even if we wanted to go back." Amafuriko. "Huh? Something's been tearing you apart inside. Is everything alright?" Yurine saw that Amafuriko's smile had been forced, and it broke down to show deep sadness and exhaustion. Atoha nodded and said, Can I talk to you? Alone, Atoha?" He turned back to Amafuriko after Yurine nodded. "Of course. You can talk to me about anything. We're friends, remember? Yurine. Keep an eye on Naruto for me, alright?" he said. She nodded and leapt over the buildings, heading for the Hokage's tower, the tallest structure in the village. "Lead the way." A few minutes later, Atoha and Amafuriko arrived at the Hokage's tower. In a low voice, Amafuriko said, "This is far enough." Atoha realized that something was seriously wrong at this point. She should have spoken or pointed out something interesting at least once on the way there, knowing Amafuriko, but instead she had been totally silent, only checking to see if Atoha was keeping up or if they were on the correct route. He wanted to help in any way he could because he was so anxious. "Amafuriko. What's wrong? Is it your Yurine?" He instantly felt bad about posing the second question when she started crying and appeared to be about to burst into tears. "Yes. And no," Atoha looked at her bewilderedly. She walked to the railing, rested her hands on it, and gazed out over the village with a dejected sigh. Her hair blew around her face as a slight breeze arose. Her voice began to shake and crack, taking on a hint of hysteria as she said, "You remember Echo, and what he did, right? Well, apparently, we missed one of the Makora when we did that last sweep of the city. It caught my Yurine and me off guard a few days ago, and..." By this point, tears were streaming down Amafuriko's face and onto the tower's roof below them. "It tore her apart, literally tore her to shreds before I had even turned around. I didn't know what to do, or what to say, or anything, so I ran." Atoha drew her into a consoling hug. "It's not your fault. It's not her fault. I should have kept searching my city for it. The blame is all mine. But don't hold back. Just cry it all out. She was your best friend. I understand how it feels. Just let it all out." Atoha spoke softly. "I'm here for you." When the dam containing Amafuriko's tears broke, she screamed into Atoha's chest, letting go of all her anguish, annoyance, and tears as she sobbed herself to sleep in Atoha's reassuring, powerful embrace, lamenting the loss of her partner and best friend of more than 300 years. Soon after, a number of ninja landed on the rooftop with Atoha, who was too busy staring at the woman he was holding to notice them. They waited for him to notice them, and then one of them came over, making as much noise as he could. The nin knelt and slowly extended a hand, lightly touching the black-clad spirit's shoulder when he arrived at them, and Atoha had yet to notice them. Atoha snapped back to reality and peered suspiciously at the masked ninjas surrounding him. To avoid disturbing the woman this man was holding, the wolf masked nin said softly, "Hokage. Sama wishes to speak with you. With you and your partner. You might want to wake her up before you get to the office. Your partner's already there, waiting for you. If you'll kindly come with us, we'll show you to Sununade, Sama's office." "I thought I was going to see the Hokage." Atoha nodded and stood quietly, avoiding waking Amifuriko, who tucked herself into his chest and wrapped her arms around him tightly, seemingly terrified that he would vanish. Sununade. Sama is the Hokage. She relaxed slightly as he lowered his head and whispered something in her ear. Is she okay? She'll be fine. She just witnessed something very painful a few days ago, and she only just let it out a little while ago. Nothing anyone can do anymore. It wasn't around here. Atoha was visibly upset. He told himself, wish I could have been there to help. Lead the way. With a firm grip on Atoha's shoulder and a one-handed gesture, Wolf said, it'll be faster to Shunshin. Hang on to your lunch dot and your girlfriend. The three masked ninjas and Atoha returned to the Hokage's office a short while later. Atoha turned to Yurine after glancing at the woman behind the desk. Tsunade sighed and rubbed her eyes, resisting the urge to beat him because he was holding an unconscious woman. Is it even possible to have breasts that big? She asked. He spoke to a woman, who shrugged. Yurine looked at Amifuriko and said, hell if I know. It may not be possible where we're from, but it must be possible, here. Is she alright? What was wrong? Atoha gave a headshake. He turned to the woman behind the desk and said, ask Amifuriko in about a week or so. If she didn't want to tell you now, it was probably for a reason. I respect her privacy too much to say any more. You must be Tsunade. Sama. My name is Atoha Shinuso. My partner there may have already introduced herself, but for politeness' sake, her name is Yurine. Tsunade gave a nod. And what, exactly, is your relationship with Naruto? A century ago, my closest friend died. Ever since that day, I've been searching for his reincarnation. Tsunade questioned, and that turned out to be Naruto? From the few seconds I looked through his hidden spiritual memory, no doubt about it, was his response. And is it possible for this mind-reading technique to be replicated? Is it possible, or even reasonable, to ask one of your ninja to separate their very soul from their body? Replied Atoha. He gave a headshake. Tsunade arched an eyebrow and rested her chin on her interlaced fingers, saying, no. No, it's not. Please don't pursue this any further. It may cause many deaths. The temperature dropped by roughly 15 degrees as Atoha's attitude abruptly changed. And you've uncovered the secret to doing this and still living, but you don't want to share it? Konoha 11 and the Junin went pale. Remember that Atoha may be deadly if you bother him after he has decided not to discuss something. Atoha's voice was quiet and icy when he responded. I asked you not to pursue it any further. But if you must know, I am able to do it, because I wasn't even alive, even in the physical sense, when I started to work on it. My body has been non-existent for a century. Do your research before making statements such as those, because if I was an enemy, you would have died before your mind had finished forming that sentence. Yurine walked over to him and began placing a hand on his shoulder and whispering to him. He stepped back a few paces and nodded. Tsunade laughed, then relaxed and leaned back in her chair. I'm sorry about that, Hokage. Sama, he just hates it when people who know nearly nothing about something he knows nearly everything about speak as if they were the one who taught it to him. So, you threaten, then insult me, then you ask for my help? Give me one good reason to help you, and I'll consider it. Yurine cracked a grin. If you help us, we can help Naruto. Once more, Tsunade leaned forward. Well, you piqued my interest. Tell me how you can help Naruto, and why you need my help. Hyuga Compound. Research by Hiashi. After waiting for Kiba to exit the room, Naruto installed a barrier that muffled sound. He turned and said a single word to Hiashi. Kyubi. Hiashi inhaled deeply and rubbed his eyes. You what? You injected my eldest daughter with that demon's chakra, and you expect me to allow you to marry her? He said. I will hear your explanation. But if I detect any sign of intentional lies or misinformation, the contract will be void and Kiba will be allowed to continue to pursue my daughter. Hiashi stared dangerously at Naruto. Understood? Naruto grinned. Well, then, I've got nothing to worry about. I intend to tell you the truth as I know it. I admit, on some points I'll be wrong, but I'll tell you what I know to be true. Is this acceptable, Hiashi? Sama. Hiashi raised his eyebrows. All right. I'll start by informing you that I didn't intentionally inject Hinata with Sonia's chakra. Hiashi warned, we're talking about injecting Hinata with the Kyuubi's chakra, not some other woman's, Uzumaki. Hinata muttered, Father, what if KK Kyuubi is Sonia? Hiashi gave Naruto a look. Naruto tapped his chin reflectively and said, she's dead. On, Hiashi, Sama. Kyuubi told me her name about. How long ago was it? About 10 years ago. Gotta thank Sonia later. But, yeah, another mob was chasing me. Yada, yada, yada. And I found myself looking at Sonia's fox form. Naruto chuckled. Looking back, it seems so funny, but at the time, I was terrified to be wreathed in that warm chakra and with one of her tails wrapped around me. I mistook that worried expression for a hungry one. But, I'm getting off topic. Hiashi appeared to be lost in traumatic memories as he said, start by telling me how you unintentionally injected Hinata with Sonia's chakra. Hiashi. Sama. Hiashi turned to face Naruto, who was wearing an oddly sober expression. She says that she's sorry for not coming back to see you. She wants you to know that no matter what, she kept you and Hisashi. Sama at the forefront of her thoughts. Hiashi was speechless. Yes, your sister, the one who disappeared when you were 7, succeeded the previous Sonia no Kitsune. The fox that you were always playing with, remember it? Hiashi looked at him with disbelief. Yep, that was your sister. It was the only way she could have come back to visit for a long time. After she truly ascended, she was too busy protecting the land of fire to do much of anything else. Hiashi nodded, gathering his thoughts. Tell her that I missed her and that I look forward to the day we meet again. Naruto grinned. You just did. The office of the Hokage. Yurine agreed, and Itoha nodded. So, you want to speak with the council, and make sure that they atone for their crimes against Naruto? Sununade shrugged and said, and you need someplace to stay, as well? She turned to the SRS. One, and said, well, I was planning to give him his house on his birthday, but I can just get him something else. Where is Naruto, anyway? Kakashi remarked, he took Hinata and went with her father and Kiba to the Hyuga compound. It's likely that Naruto and Kiba are fighting by now. Has something happened that you're not telling me about? Sununade asked, casting a suspicious glance at Kakashi. Ejected, Kakashi sighed. Right now. It's an order, Sununade insisted. Kiba tried to kill Naruto on the way back home. And the reason you didn't tell me this sooner was. Sununade was shocked by this new development and said, Naruto's probably going to wind up killing Kiba in the next month because of their new war over who gets to be with Hinata. Remain calm and patient. Wait a moment. Is Naruto genuinely aware of Hinata's concern for him? He has since the academy, if Shikamaru, here, is to be believed. Kurenai pointed to Shikamaru, adding that both of them claimed he kept it a secret in order to keep her safe. Shikamaru, correct? No response. Hey, Shikamaru. No response as of yet. You still alive, over there? They heard a faint snore this time. Asuma's forehead was palmed. After saying, he's doing it again. I told him not to do this during briefings and mission reports. He approached Shikamaru and gave him a solid back of the head slap, causing him to fall to the ground. Leave my waffens alone, screamed Shikamaru, who then sat up, yawned, and looked around drowsily. Is it? He yawned again. Is it over yet? Can we go now? He became alert as he became aware of the strange looks he was receiving. Is something on my face? Tenton scratched at her head and asked, what the hell is a waffen? Shikamaru gave her the look of someone who had grown a head. Sununade shook her head and then repeated, a waffen? What the hell? And people say Naruto's weird. I've never heard of a waffen before, why don't you ask Naruto? Shikamaru, tell me honestly. Did Naruto tell you he had feelings for Hinata during the academy? He changed his mind after Sununade gave him a warning glare. No comment. Sakura opened her mouth to reply, but Shikamaru replied, Pinky, if you say shit about me or Naruto, or any damn thing about your precious Sasuke-kun, I'm gonna do the world a favor and sew your mouth shut. So you'd better think twice. He glared at the other SRS members and said, yes. We had meant to keep it quiet until nobody wanted to screw up Naruto's chances with her. But Pinky, bitch and duck-ass head ruined that. In response, Shikamaru made some hand gestures and exclaimed, mouth. Sealing jutsu. Before Sakura could even take a breath to scream, a bunch of needles materialized and sewn her mouth shut. You're all bark and no bite. You know damn well that Sununade Sama wouldn't allow you to do that to me. Sununade gestured to the couch on the left side of the room and said, let this be a lesson to you, Sakura. Your arrogance has gotten the best of you. Now, Itoha, Yurine. Go get Naruto and tell him to come here. Put your friend on that couch. Shizune. A woman in a black kimono said as she entered. Her ebony eyes swept across the room, pausing briefly on Yurine and Itoha. Her gaze swiftly shifted back to Sununade. You called, Sununade. Sama, bring me a blanket and a pillow, please. Shizune bowed and hurried out of the room, returning a minute later with the requested items. Right away, Sununade. Sama. As Itoha placed Amifuriko down and covered her with the blanket, she backed away after placing the pillow at the end of the sofa. While whispering in her ear, he said, "I'll be back soon. I promise." Then he got to his feet. Yurine nodded, and they both disappeared. "Yurine, let's go. We should get Naruto back here as quickly as possible. If she wakes up here, she's going to be scared and confused." Hyuga compound. After a short while Atoha searched the walls for a suitable spot to leap over. Atoha.kun. "Why don't we just go to the gate and ask for Naruto.san?" Yurine inquired. Atoha paused and gave a shrug. When they arrived at the gate, the guards stopped them, saying, "It's worth a shot. Let's go." The guard on the left yelled, "Halt, state your name and business here." "We were sent by Hokage Sama. She wishes to see Naruto.san, and we were told that he could be found here," Atoha said. "I am Atoha, and this is Yurine." The guard who had just finished speaking turned to face his companion and nodded. The guard on the right side saluted and turned to face Atoha and Yurine. "Escort them to the waiting room, then go see if Hiashi Sama is done with Naruto.san." As he led them into the compound, he said, "Follow me, please. Right this way." "So, when Hinata died, you were radiating too much Yuki for the rest of the squad to survive, so Sonia sent some of it into Hinata's body, reviving her and mending her body?" Hiashi asked. "That's the short version, yes. But, unfortunately, that's all it did. I had to manually repair her eyes, and it's going to take either Sununade Bachan, about 10 of our best medics, or either Bachan or about 10 of our best medics to heal her nervous system. There are no other options, other than waiting a few years for her nervous system to recover on its own? Only one. But, I don't want to push our luck, so that's only gonna be a very last resort." Hiashi inquired, "What is this last option?" Naruto appeared anxious. If Sonia's chakra has already run its course from earlier, I could inject some directly into her nervous system. However, if I do, it may do one of 4 things. It could heal her, as planned. It could turn her into a Kitsune Yuko. It could turn her into a Kitsune Hanyu. Or it could. Well, it could. Naruto went on. Hiashi asked, "What could it do, Naruto.san? Please, tell us." "It could kill her from the sudden introduction of foreign, demonic chakra. Or at least render her unconscious for a few weeks to several months, with ample life support." Naruto nodded. "But I don't want to risk it unless we've exhausted every last one of our other options, or she insists. I don't want to lose Hinata again because of a mistake I made." When the knock came from the entrance. While the man on the other side of the door was finishing his sentence, Naruto cancelled his sound. Suppression jutsu. "Hiashi Sama Sunade. Sama wants to see Naruto.san as soon as possible. She has 2 messengers in the waiting room, waiting for your reply." Naruto nodded, then got up on his knees, picking up Hinata before getting to his feet. "Very well, tell them that I will meet them soon. Come, Naruto.san, let us meet these messengers." When Hiashi nodded, he bowed his head and proceeded to the door, opening it for Naruto to carry Hinata through before shutting it behind him as he followed them out. Compound Hyuga, waiting area with an amused expression on her face. Yurine watched Atoha pace back and forth across the carpet beside the chair where she sat, motionless except for her head. Atoha.kun, would you stop and relax, already? You're wearing a hole in the carpet. But, Yurine Chan, I'm worried about Amafuriko. She's come through everything but this without shedding more than a few tears. This time, she cried her heart out until she fell asleep. I've got to figure out some way to cheer her up. It's killing me that I couldn't. That's it, suddenly he exclaimed, startling Yurine. He told himself, yeah, that'll work. She said, Atoha.kun. What'll work? Right before Naruto and Hiashi entered. At Christmas, Naruto's eyes glowed like a child's. Atoha gave Naruto his tiny, reticent smile and said, Bro, what's up? What are you and Yurine Chan doing here? Shouldn't you be talking to Chan about whether you'll be allowed to stay here? Naruto paused, staring at Atoha in confusion, and said, Actually, when we mentioned that, she said she had something to give you. I think she wants to give you an early birthday gift. As he went on, Hinata, Hiashi, Atoha, and Yurine looked at him, not even trying to hide their shock, which soon turned to horror. An early birthday. Oh, my birthday's in 2 days. Shimada, I've got to reinforce those trap seals by tomorrow night. They said. He stopped when he realized who was around him. Then I've got to recharge my alarm seals. Place those clones in a perimeter, make sure they're hanged and restock on food. Not to mention, I said. Well, shit. Hey, people, don't have a heart attack on me now. It's only gonna be for the night of my birthday. Hinata and Yurine both fainted. Air. That was the wrong thing to say, wasn't it? Atoha tried to wake Yurine and said, yeah, it was, Naruto. Hiashi gave a headshake. Half. Expecting an answer, Hiashi said, Naruto-san, would you mind explaining why you take such drastic defensive measures on your birthday? Well, when I was a kid, before I graduated from the academy, I was chased daily by mobs, except when I was near Hokage Tower. On the night of the Kyuubi festival, my birthday, the mobs were so much worse that I was often in the hospital for far greater amounts of time. So Ogg Sandame decided to have me stay home that day every year, and taught me to place chakra into those seals that he placed to interlacing webs in and around my apartment. The clones I added after graduation because some of the shinobi wanted to continue their attacks on me at night when I was asleep. It's just become a habit of mine to do all of that stuff over the years. I started increasing my security when Akatsuki started coming after me. Nowadays I've got that stuff going 24/7, just in case Hitachi decides to come back. Hiashi exhaled. Minato. I'm very sorry I was unable to attend your son's event. However, I will stop at nothing to be there for him going forward and to help him in his endeavors. Naruto-san, anytime you find yourself in trouble, you are welcome here. I will let the guards know that you are to be allowed to come and go as you please. Now, we should get going to see Hokage. Sama. It wouldn't do to keep her waiting. Wake them and let's go. Hiashi responded. Shortly after, Yurine and Hinata were gradually improving, and the group set off for Tsunade's office. Oi, we're... Atoha immediately covered Naruto's mouth with a hand and gestured toward the couch. Not so loud. She needs to continue resting, he screamed. After nodding, Naruto carefully withdrew his hand and knelt beside the woman on the couch. Naruto asked, Hey, who sewed the banshee's mouth shut? Shikamaru yawned and said, You beat me to it. I was gonna do it myself, tonight. You're welcome. And, bad news. Somebody told Tsunade. Sama about you and Hinata. Get ready to be drilled with a lot of questions. So troublesome. I'm going back to sleep. Wake me when it's over. Shikamaru was simply bowing his head. Asuma said, Yep, he's out. Again. Naruto remained resolute. Ask what you want. I'm not afraid of loving Hinata. I'll do anything for her, and that's a promise, he said. Well, actually, we're all sure that you mean the best for Hinata. But, we'd like to know. How long have you known about Hinata's feelings for you, exactly? Tsunade responded. After giving it some thought, Naruto shrugged. Not quite sure. Since a couple of months into the year that we first met, during the academy, I guess. Naruto gave her a fierce look and asked, And how long have you felt the same way? I'll be straight with you. I hardly remember not loving her or not knowing about her love. His expression softened. She is my life, now. I can't imagine what my life would be like now if she hadn't come in. Hiashi nodded when Tsunade said, I see. Hiashi-san, you are okay with their choice to be together, correct? He said, I more than approve of it, and woke Shikamaru by hurling a blank scroll at his head. When the scroll made contact, Shikamaru let out a loud curse, which knocked him to the ground and roused him once more. Shikamaru jumped up, his eyes wide in panic, and said, Glad you could rejoin us, Nara-san. But when he heard Hiashi laugh softly, he relaxed. Kiba did not seem happy with Hinata's choice, however, and so we have come to the conclusion that he and Naruto-san are to fight for my daughter's hand. We have not. The rest of the Konoha 9 nodded when Naruto interrupted, saying, If there's no need for the rest of us to be here, then can we go, Bachan? I'm really in the mood for some karaoke. Before Tsunade saw Hiashi shivering with repressed laughter, she flushed with annoyance. She nodded and sighed. Naruto yelled, Alright, tonight, it's all on me, guys. Let's go. But first, Bachan, we need you to heal Hinata. Chan's nervous system. Sasuke. Tamiz Chidori fried her. Kyuubi was barely able to save her. Tsunade let out another sigh. Alright. Take her with you to enjoy your karaoke party tonight. I'll take a look at her tomorrow morning, first thing. Bring her to the hospital as soon as you wake up. If I'm not there, ask somebody to come and wake me up. Naruto gave a grin. Thanks, Tsunade. Sama. You're the best. Alright, guys, let's go. So, bro. Naruto said, grinning mischievously as he turned to face Atoha. Naruto calmed Atoha while glancing at Amafuriko, who was in Atoha's arms, saying, Only a few hours in Konoha and you've already made a girl faint? You're good, man. Well, what about you? I hear that you made Hinata faint just by looking at her before. You must be quite the ladies' man, by now. Atoha laughed in response. Nah. I've got Hinata. I'm perfectly happy, all jokes aside. But seriously, who is she? I'm pretty sure she's also a Caris. She watched over a city near mine. Some shit happened, and she was brought here. That's all I can say, now. So, where's this karaoke place? Atoha replied. Naruto laughed. Atoha looked up and shook his head, saying, we're here. Kicking yourself? Don't. Even I had trouble finding this place the first few times. Tenton said doubtfully, wait, you? Mr. Photographic Memory? Naruto entered and said, I said I had a damn near photographic memory. I'm not quite there. Well, let's go. Saying, oh, girls. He paused before they entered. This place is sort of a combination strip joint. Karaoke bar. Try not to lose your heads, it's the only place that doesn't kick me out on sight. I can't showcase my music anywhere else. The women were just staring. Slowly, Ino said, You showcase music? Tenton glared, it's a strip joint? Tenton, think about it this way. I was looking for a place to showcase my music. Neji, Shikamaru, Lee, and Choji suggested a few places. The people at the front desks took one look at me and chased me out. I came upon this place. The sign said, Musical Heaven. I thought I'd take a look. They didn't chase me out, but when I walked in, I saw why. I guess they thought I'd take one look, see the exhibitionists, and run out and never come back. Well, I did run out, but then I came back with Neji, Lee, and Shino to showcase a few of our songs a couple of months after we started our band. Naruto began to chuckle. Tenton insisted, what's so funny? He choked out his laughter. That's the first time I ever saw Neji do a double take and turn as red as Hinata at the same time. The man said. As it dawned on them, the others froze, and then they too laughed. Neji just entered, with the others trailing behind. With everyone else standing behind him, Neji said to the receptionist, table for 12, please. She smiled and said, so, the demon's voice is back to give us another performance? Despite their protests, Neji joked, yes. We've brought a few friends with us this time, though. Don't worry, Kay, we'll keep the girls strapped down, if necessary. The receptionist simply chuckled and motioned for them to come along. They followed her as they entered the main room through the heavy royal purple curtains. When they sat down, someone was just finishing a song. As Kay went up to announce their arrival, Neji said, hey Naruto, you got anything? Pulling his sleeves back, Naruto showed off a few storage seals on his arms. One on his right forearm and one on each wrist, while grinning. What do you think? Hey, there, Musical Heaven, it's been a while since we've heard a few original songs, hasn't it? Kay spoke into the microphone. The audience as a whole cheered. Well, I've got some good news for you. Our favorite voice is back, she yelled. Once more, the crowd applauded. Neji, Shino, Lee. Mass Hell Shunshin, just like we practiced, alright. Naruto murmured. The other three gave a nod. They gave the other members of their party a brief smile before hastily leaving the first curtain. Kay shouted into the microphone, well, please, let's not keep them off the stage any longer. Please help me welcome the demon's voice. The stage behind her began to shimmer as soon as she finished speaking. After a brief period of condensation, the shimmer abruptly burst into a pillar of flame that engulfed the stage. As soon as it exploded, it disappeared, exposing Neji, Shino, Naruto, and Lee in their proper places. Neji standing back with Shino, his guitar dangling on his shoulder, and Shino's bass hanging on his own, while Lee was at the drums with his sticks in the air. Naruto faced the spectators, with their feet shoulder width apart, their arms folded, and their heads slightly bent. He, Neji, and Shino stood. Each of the four wore black pants with a thick red stripe down the outside sides and a black shirt with a red kitsune head in the center. Each of Naruto, Shino, and Neji wore a trench coat with a Konoha spiral on the back in the same color scheme. On the back of his shirt, Lee displayed his Konoha spiral. Tenton expressed what everyone in the audience was thinking when he said, wow. As Naruto approached the microphone, he smirked and walked slowly and deliberately through the fog that had formed when the demon's voice had materialized. The fog swirled around the four and wreathed the stage. Well, I must say, I'm impressed, Musical Heaven. Not many would trust us the way you do. I speak for all of us when I say, thank you for your trust. But, it's been too long since we came to visit, we haven't played for you for far too long. Well, we've got just the remedy for that. We'll give you, our friends, our greatest fans, the honor of having our very first concert. Naruto's voice was low and almost captivating. The audience cheered louder than ever when he was done. Naruto nodded to Neji, Lee, and Shino, and they began to play. We'll start out with a song that I wound up writing right after the last time we were here. This one's called, Remember the Name. Naruto began to sing when they reached the appropriate spot. As they concluded their performance, the audience bowed and cheered enthusiastically. When Naruto asked, "So, musical heaven, how was that?" the audience cheered. He grinned. "Well, we've got more coming. This one's called, Blame It On Me. I was thinking one day, and I realized that most people take out their frustrations on the closest thing to the thing, or person, whatever caused their frustration, or anger, or sadness, whatever. So I wrote this song to tell you that I'll take it, if it keeps my friends safe." He then nodded to Neji, Shino, and Lee. They began playing. Alright. Now, many people aren't fortunate enough to find their special someone by the point that I did, and I'm pretty sure that this song, it'll describe exactly how they feel, and how I felt before I found my special someone, who's sitting in the audience tonight. This one is called, Gotta Be Somebody. Don't give up if you haven't found your significant other, yet. I'm absolutely positive that you will. Neji, Shino, and Lee began playing shortly after he had finished speaking. Alright. Now, this one, I wrote to be sung by myself and my significant other. Unfortunately, she's too shy to be up singing in front of a crowd, so, instead. Neji looked at Naruto. Neji nodded, handed Naruto his guitar, and walked over to the microphone, saying, "I think I'll pass off the mic to Neji and his significant other." During the conversation, Naruto gave Neji a tiny gadget. Neji nodded, then said into the microphone, "This will teach her the lyrics. Put it in her ear." "Hey, Tenton, don't be shy. It's not like you. Come on up, sing with me." Neji responded. Tenton smiled and hurried over to the platform. He whispered in her ear as she embraced him briefly. Tenton nodded and took the device, placing it in her ear. "The device I'm about to give you, put it in your ear, flat side in. It'll teach you the lyrics to this song. You shouldn't feel more than you would a paper cut." She froze, staring at Naruto with daggers. Neji laughed. Naruto shot him a look that said, "Nah. Looks like she doesn't like it, Naruto. Do you think?" and resumed waiting for the song to be announced. Neji grinned his famous Hyuga smile, and looked at Tenton, who nodded and inhaled deeply. "Alright, people, this one's called, This Is Me. Naruto wrote it to be sung by him and my cousin. He wrote it because he wanted a song that would let everyone hear her flawless voice. But he knows that I vehemently disagree. Nobody can match my Tenton." After handing her the microphone, he went to grab the one facing Naruto. He motioned for them to begin playing by raising and then dropping his hand. After they were done, Tenton grinned at Neji, who gave her a whispered hug. Tenton nodded and walked over to embrace Naruto. "Hey, go easy on Naruto. Or at least wait until our concert is over. Then you can chase him down and maul him all you like. 'Kay?" Tenton said. "So, did you dislike the words themselves, or the context?" asked he. She put his gadget in his hand and said, "Both." After giving each of Shino and Lee a hug, she returned to their table. Neji spoke into the microphone. "Well, we're getting hungry and tired, but we'll give you one more song, alright?" This one was also written by our songwriter. It's called, When You Look Me in the Eyes. It was written for who else? His significant other. But he figured it would also describe how the rest of us would feel when we found ours. "So, Naruto, you mind if I?" Neji trailed off, looking at Naruto, who grinned. Naruto told him, "Go for it, man." Then he gave Shino and Lee the all clear by nodding. "Alright, people, that's all we've got for tonight. We'll make sure to stop by again with some more new songs as soon as we've got the time. Till then, have fun, everybody," Neji yelled. The voice of the demons then departed in the same manner as they had come. Naruto took his place beside Hinata and said, "So, what did you think?" As he drew her into his lap, Hinata grinned. "You were perfect, Naru-kun," she whispered. Naruto gave her a forehead kiss while grinning. Unexpectedly, Amifuriko said, "You guys were awesome. You've gotta bring a Toha into your band." A Toha was also surprised. "We haven't met, have we? I'm pretty sure I would remember someone so outspoken," said Shino. Tenton struck Lee over the head with a mace and said, "My name is Rock Lee, Konoha's Ha." Tenton said, "Sorry about him. My name is Tenton, you are." Says Amifuriko, "My name's Amifuriko. Is he always like that?" Neji let out a sigh. "We've been trying to undo Guy Sensei's brainwashing since we graduated from the academy. That was nearly 5 years ago. As you can see, we've had no luck." Neji responded. "Where are my manners? My name is Neji Hyuga. I'm Choji, and the chainsaw impression over here is Shikamaru." "Choji, why didn't you introduce me?" I'm Ino, by the way. So why, Choji? Because you would have been angry in any case, Choji said. As Choji and Ino began to quarrel, Shino said in his quiet, eerie voice, ignore them. My name is Shino. The blonde boy is Naruto Uzumaki, and the girl in his arms is my teammate, Hinata. Amifuriko said, I see. Is that Ino girl always like that? Normally, yes. But you can usually quiet her down by throwing her in a lake. She'll spend a few hours trying to get the gunk out of her hair and clothes. Naruto responded. That saved me quite a few headaches. Geez, ever since my spar with Lee after my training trip, she was constantly trying to get me to go out with her. Naruto said with a sigh. Atoha teased him once more, saying, so you are Lady's man. Chamber of the Hyuga Council. One of the counselors yelled, Hiashi, what have you brought us here for? I hope you have a good reason for disturbing our sleep. I do. The counselor sarcastically remarked, then please, Hiashi, do let us know what is so urgent that it couldn't wait for morning. Hiashi grinned. As you may know, my daughter is. That failure? What interest could she hold for us? If you could stop and listen for a moment, Elder. You may know that she is romantically interested in Naruto Uzumaki. They, along with Kiba and Inuzuka, came to me earlier tonight. We came to the conclusion that Uzumaki and Inuzuka will fight for her hand. Hiashi presented a scroll to one of the elders to be read by them. But when they were done, the elder grabbed a brush. Hiashi got the scroll quickly. Excuse me, elder, what are you doing? Adding a rule. No demonic assistance shall be rendered in this battle. Then you shall also add the rule, no animals shall be used in this battle. The elder objected, angering Hiashi, saying, but the animal is an invaluable component of the Inuzuka's arsenal. He snapped back, and the Kyuubi is not a component of Uzumaki's arsenal? Now the elders were completely taken aback. They were arguing with Hiashi. He has demonstrated time and time again that the demon is of no threat to us so long as he lives. He has also demonstrated that so long as he lives, he will fight. And if necessary, die. For Konoha. But every day that he lives, there is also the risk that the seal will break and the Kyuubi will be freed. Hiashi was reminded by the elder. Observing their bewildered expressions, Hiashi clarified, and you never realized that after being so intimately bonded to the boy, it would infuriate the Kyuubi even more for the boy to be punished for the demon's sins? Demons are very proud creatures. They despise their punishment being meted out on anyone but those who deserve it, and they most definitely do not approve of even the most vile of enemies being tortured the way Uzumaki has been. But, of course, you do not know the Kyuubi's secret. Hiashi cracked a full-blown grin. Unfortunately, Uzumaki has not given me permission to share it. He wishes to tell you himself. The elders glanced around, half expecting him to enter the room. Then where is he? They asked. Hiashi responded with an enraged smirk of smugness. His words, that, good elders, can wait for tomorrow. Sleep well. Were followed by his exit from the room. Konoha Hospital, 0830 hours tomorrow morning. Naruto yelled, Oi, Ba-chan, you here? As he walked into the hospital lobby. Sununade rubbed HR's temples and said, yes, Gaki, I'm here. Let's take a look at your girlfriend. Naruto smiled sheepishly and said, and please try to quiet down a bit. This is a hospital, remember? Sorry. He carried Hinata on his back as he followed Sununade through the hallways until they reached the emergency room entrance. Naruto nodded and allowed Sununade to take Hinata, saying, okay, I need you to wait here. I'll fix Hinata to the best of my ability. I'll be waiting right here, Hina. Haim. I'll be here when you come out. I promise. Naruto reassured her. Aishiteru. Naru. Oji. Naruto took a seat and prepared to wait as soon as they vanished through the doors. After 3 hours, Naruto paced the floor impatiently. They ought to have returned by now. Why are they taking so long? He snarled impatiently at the door and inwardly as well. Naruto. Said Atoha. Since arriving at around 10, he, Yurine, Amifuriko, and the other members of the Konoha 9 had observed him becoming increasingly agitated and impatient. Naruto growled, don't start with that. Patience is a virtue. Shit. He gave Atoha a fierce look. My fuse is extremely short right now. The only thing keeping me from bursting through that door right now is the knowledge that if I go in and disrupt their concentration, it could be lethal for Hinata. Choji proposed, then why not go obliterate a training ground? I can't, yelled Naruto. He sighed and sagged against a wall upon seeing Choji's gasp and the looks on everyone else's faces. My god, what the hell was I doing? I should have killed that bastard Uchiha when I had the chance. Naruto broke down in tears. Atoha approached him and placed a hand on his shoulder. Even when he's not here, he's destroying me. Why didn't I just kill him at the valley? Why didn't I just follow my gut and kill him? Why didn't I just bring back his corpse? Itoha said. Regardless of who was looking, Naruto threw his arms around Itoha and kept crying. Everyone in the area watched with pity and disgust. Pity for the suffering the Uchiha caused him, and disgust at the suffering the Uchiha's betrayal was still causing to everyone. Itoha simply gave him the kind of embrace one would give a sobbing younger sibling. Itoha remarked softly, "He's always done this." Huh? Was all Ino had to say, and it really encapsulated what everyone was thinking. He's always kept his pain hidden away from everyone by that mask of happiness. And it always built up until he could no longer contain it. He would lock himself in his house and cry until he fell asleep. Then he would put his mask back up and go around like nothing was wrong. He glanced at Amifuriko. "Almost like you." Regaining his composure, Naruto said, Choji interrupted, "I'm sorry. I've been taking this all on myself. I'm just." Naruto, "It's fine. You're just worried about Hinata, right? No harm done. I know you didn't mean for it to come out that way. We're still cool." Choji cracked a grin. Naruto smiled wearily himself. "Thanks, Choji. It means a lot. But I still feel bad, so I'll treat you to a meal at your choice of any restaurant in the village." Naruto replied. Oh no, everyone thought, he has no idea what he's gotten himself into. But Choji's response took them all by surprise. "Tempting, Naruto, but your apology is more than enough to make up for it. It's fine, really." Shinobi, nurses, and doctors all pause. Didn't hell simply freeze over? Known for their ravenous appetites? And Akamichi turning down a complimentary meal? This isn't possible. Are you sick or something, Choji? Usually, you jump at the chance for a free meal, Ino responded. The doors suddenly opened, and Tsunade left with Hinata. "No, I'm perfectly fine. I just don't want to blow Naruto's money on repaying me for something that was never a problem." Naruto leapt to his feet and said, "Naruto? Well, good news and bad news. The good news is that she's got the use of her arms back." With his fear suppressed, Naruto said, The bad news? She cannot be dead if she is still able to use her arms. Then why am I so afraid? Well, that's all we could do for her. I had all my best medics in there helping me, and we're all exhausted. This is all we can do for today, Tsunade replied. Naruto-kun, said Hinata. With a terrified expression, Naruto asked, "Can we try that other option?" "But, Hina, Tenchi, you remember what it could do to you." "I know, but I don't want to be like this anymore, and besides, we've got Tsunade, Sama here." Naruto reminded her that, she's out of chakra, Hinata grinned. "I'm not." Naruto let out a sigh. Naruto questioned her, "You're not going to give up on this, are you?" "Nope." Hinata said with a smile. Naruto let out another sigh. "Alright, you win. But the moment you start feeling wrong, I'm stopping, understand?" Hinata gave a wink. Naruto said, looking thoughtfully at the doors, "Tsunade. Sama, we'll need to go somewhere that there'll be no distractions." She nodded and sighed. As soon as they entered, Tsunade said, "Okay, Naruto, Hinata, I want you to tell me exactly what'll be going on in here. And make it quick. Itoha and Yurine's appointment with the village council is going to take place soon." "How long?" "About 20 minutes. Naruto gave a nod. "Should be more than enough time. What I'm gonna do is, since it's a powerful healing agent in limited quantities, I'll inject a bit of the Kyuubi's chakra into Hinata's nervous system." Naruto clarified. She knows that this is potentially lethal, but she's not going to let it go. "Well, let's get this over with." Tsunade intervened. She inquired, "How high are the chances of her dying?" 1%, according to the Kyuubi. "And how do you know that you can trust him?" "Kyuubi and I have been on good terms for quite a few years. I think I can trust her." Tsunade blinked and shook her head, saying, "But Kyuubi's a demon, aren't they known for?" "Wait, did you just say, her? Kyuubi's a woman? Wow. That's unexpected. Any chance of any other side effects?" 2. A. 0.5% says she'll turn into a full-blown kitsune. 5% says she'll turn into a kitsune Hanyu, and the other 91.5% says that it'll work as planned, replied Naruto. Tsunade gave Naruto a wary glance. Those seem like pretty good chances, considering that she's a demon, a kitsune at that. "Well, like I said, she and I have been on very good terms for about 10 years, and our friendship has only gotten stronger." Naruto sighed. He put his hand on the back of Hinata's neck and began injecting Sonia's chakra a little at a time, every 5 seconds for a few minutes. "I trust her." "You should, too." After a few minutes, Naruto withdrew and grasped Hinata's hand. Now, we wait. Naruto, what if something goes wrong? What will you do? Hinata's eyes widened as wide as they could as soon as he said, since it's Kyuubi's chakra, and she's inside me, I can still manipulate it to an extent. If anything goes wrong, I'll withdraw it as fast as safely possible. Hinata, what's going on? What's wrong? She trailed off thoughtfully, nothing. And that's why I'm so freaked out. I thought it would be painful, but, asked Naruto. Hinata gave a sheepish smile. Naruto froze and said, it's actually starting to feel kinda good. Oh, Sonia? Is it transforming, bad, or good? Hanyu. If she was turning full demon, she'd be screaming as if you were fucking her brains out. I don't fully comprehend. Okay. If she was dying, she'd be screaming in pain. If she was staying fully human, she'd just feel a little warm. She's turning into a Hanyu, so she's feeling a bit pleasurable. Turning full demon. Well, I've yet to find anything to make me feel better. It would make her scream in ecstasy. Oh. It took less than a half-second to complete the exchange. Hinata and Tsunade stared at Naruto as though he had just grown 3 heads. Hinata, how badly do you want to stay human? Naruto asked. To keep things short, you're becoming a Hanyu. I'll be unable to stop it in 5 seconds. Make your choice. Human or Hanyu? Hanyu. Naruto nodded in agreement with her response. Tsunade was shocked to hear, so be it. The change shall continue. Wait, you're going to allow this? Naruto, this is her life and her body we're talking about, she yelled. Naruto looked at her with an expression that betrayed his own concern at the result and said, this is exactly why I gave her a choice as soon as I found out what was going on. With love in her eyes, Hinata cupped her hand around his cheek and looked up at him. I'm just worried about what the villagers will think. What they might do to Hina. Tenshi. He took hold of her hand and leaned his face against it. Naru.kun, it'll be fine. We'll just explain that it was either this, or my life. Ino screamed, what the hell is taking them so long? First Naruto was getting impatient because Tsunade Sama was taking too long, but now he's doing the same. Shoji tried to calm her down and reason with her by saying, Ino, Naruto was waiting here an hour before we were. It makes sense that he'd be more impatient than us. She glared at him fiercely, and he shrank back. As Tsunade left, Ino snarled, shut it, Shoji. Oh, he's gonna get a huge piece of my mind when he gets back out here. Tsunade. Sama, where are they? What are they doing? Tsunade looked down at Ino and remarked, they're right on the other side of the door, waiting for you to calm down. Ino said in a low voice, I'm calmed down. Everyone in the room nodded when the speaker said, good. Now, nobody here is to speak of this to anyone else, understood? Alright, now this is what happened. Naruto has found that the only remaining option to healing Hinata was to inject her with the Kyuubi's Yuki. Well, he did, and it worked. But there was a small side effect. Come on out. Tsunade gestured toward the entrance. Naruto left with an arm wrapped around him for protection. Everybody in the room let out a gasp. From the top of her head to the tips that hung just above her waist, the girl who walked out with Naruto had indigo blue hair with silver streaks. Her eyes were more reddish than Hinata's usual lavender, and her face was sharper. Her curves were perfectly positioned, and her body was much more defined. To put it briefly, she was flawless, and she knew it from the confident atmosphere around her. With caution, Ino said, Hinata. She paused and turned to face Naruto, who was shaking his head incredulously. Yeah, it's me. Hell, if I'd known I'd feel this good with so much attention, I probably wouldn't have used that jacket. I probably never would have gotten Naruto-kun's attention, though. Freakin' believable. It takes becoming a Hanyu for you to realize that you're beautiful. You've always been beautiful, my Tenshi, you just couldn't find the self-confidence to admit that to yourself. Naruto stated to her. Hinata said perilously, I didn't have the self-confidence. Naruto's amusement was evident as he said, let me rephrase that. After giving this some thought, Hinata nodded. You've always had the self-confidence to admit it to yourself, it was just locked away by your father's and your clan's insults. Hinata whispered in Naruto's ear, that is a better way to word it, as she began kissing his neck and moving her hand down his torso in the direction of his. As she got to his belt, Naruto's free hand leapt up to grab hers. Hinata, I said, not until after the match. Then we can go there all you want, K. He said, rolling his eyes. She pouted at him, and he gave her an apologetic smile. She whimpered, but I want you now, everybody else gave a headshake. Hey, remember, people, I have to deal with a lot more than this during her time of the month. She'll get a lot more aggressive. He glanced back at Hinata. Hinata sulked but complied, saying, not now. Naruto appeared in disbelief. Are you serious? That actually worked? What? Wow. Well, I guess I definitely won't be using that very much. Damn. So I am the alpha. Damn. Hinata demanded, Naruto-kun, what's going on? Well, you know how in groups of animals, there's usually a leader. Everyone replied. Well, when that leader gives a command, they usually give off a concentrated blast of pheromones that basically tells the rest of the group that they have to obey. I just tried that with Hina. Tenshi. Didn't expect it to work. You used mind control on me? Keep in mind that I didn't expect it to work, and I'm not gonna use it again unless absolutely necessary. Meaning in potentially life threatening situations. He turned to Tsunade. Didn't you, bro, Yurine, Nichan, and Amafuriko have an appointment with the elders? You've got 2.5 minutes to get there on time, starting now. 2 minutes and 29 seconds later, in the village council chamber. What's taking her so? Kaharu began, but was interrupted when Tsunade entered through the slamming door. Sorry I'm late. I had a little delay at the hospital. And why did you need us here, Tsunade? I suppose that it was important. Kaharu replied. Tsunade laughed. One of the Anbu behind her left the room, opened the door, and let a man with a long katana, black trench coat, and black hair enter. Well, it just so happens that. You're right. It has recently been brought to my attention that a few people have been trying to gain an audience with you concerning the past mistreatment of a certain Naruto Uzumaki. I have granted it to them. Anbu. Allow them in trance. A young woman wearing a plaid skirt, an open black leather jacket with a white shirt underneath, and white hair came after him. At last, a woman wearing a light pink shirt, a blue skirt that hung down to her mid-thighs, a red trench coat, and orange hair that reached her waist came in. Few elders were able to identify the weapon the woman was carrying. Anbu. Why did you let them keep their weapons? Confiscate them right away, yelled a certain civilian counselor with pink hair. Atoha tossed his sword, still in its sheath, to an Anbu and said icily, that's fine. We don't need our weapons to get our point across. Amafuriko simply gave it to him. Kaharu asked, seemingly unconcerned by their words, now, what do you need to speak with us about? We want you to repay Uzumaki Naruto in full for the pain he suffered as a child. Once more, Sashia Haruno screamed, and why should we do anything for the demon? He is not the Kyuubi, you Banshee. He is just as human as your Hokage. Atoha yelled. There was a dangerous drop in his voice. I will see justice served equally, even if some of you have to die before that happens. Dangerously, another civilian counselor questioned, is that a threat? Atoha gave a snort. He scoffed, threats are merely empty words. He said, no, I don't make threats, I make promises. Haruno commanded, Anbu. Arrest them for threatening the village council. Amafuriko, Yurine, and Atoha grinned. When the Anbu tried to grab Amafuriko, she blinked out of view and said, let's see you arrest what you can't catch. Yurine and Atoha followed suit. Naruto's fans could hardly contain their laughter at the Kyuubi destruction, faction's blatant annoyance as this went on for a few minutes. Tsunade commanded, Anbu, stop this. The Anbu immediately stopped what they were doing and went back to their positions at the room's edges. Atoha, Yurine, Amafuriko, you. Amafuriko. Tsunade, it's obvious that she's a spy, why would you let her? Haruno stopped and gave Amafuriko a stern look. Haruno, shut your yap or lose your seat on the council. Tsunade, I don't believe you're aware that you don't have the power to do that. Kaharu sighed. Before Tsunade could reply, Atoha spoke. He turned to face Yurine, who nodded, and said, it doesn't matter. She's the first to go. Go, Caris. Do what you will. Just try to keep it clean. Darkly, Atoha remarked, they'll die so fast, the blood won't even leave their wounds. He gestured toward Danzo. Hey, Amafuriko, take out that one, will you? He feels like a snake. And a bad one, even by snake's standards. In case you've forgotten, my Yurine isn't around. I've got very little power now. Atoha smirked and extended his hand toward his sword, saying, if there's one thing I could say you're good at, it's your creativity. You'll think of something. It rose from the earth, then whirled around before landing in his hand. Sashia fell to the ground with cuts all over her body as soon as Atoha's katana touched his hand, causing a flash of gold. The other members of the council gasped and stared at the location where Atoha had been standing. A warrior in what appeared to be bronze armor with gold edges was in front of them. The helmet had 2 orbs that glowed red in place of eyeholes. The gauntlets, boots, leggings, and helmet all appeared to be related. The council was frightened. Amafuriko whispered, "Show off," rousing the council from their trance. They turned to face Amafuriko, who was standing over Danzo's body this time. The warrior laughed. Amafuriko sat down and gave him a seductive wink. "You know, Amafuriko, sometimes showing off is the way to get the job done. It's often better than, damn it, would you stop that?" he said. She chuckled. "You can't really, honestly say you want me to stop it altogether, can you?" Amafuriko grinned mischievously and said, "Honestly, I don't know the answer to that one. Just try not to distract me in the middle of combat. Can you manage that? You know, I really don't like it when you smile at me like that." Atoha shook his head, saying, "Well, I guess I can manage to keep it off the battlefield." He asked, half expecting the response, "What's the catch?" She just grinned before responding. Atoha shook his head once more and said, "I'll tell you when we're done here." He motioned to another civilian counselor with his sword, saying, "Well, let's get back to work, then." The counselor glared at him defiantly and said, "Repent, apologize, and write the atrocities that you have allowed and caused Naruto to go through. You have 3 seconds to comply." "Never." 3. "I refuse." 2. "I said, no." 1. "I don't answer to." Atoha's sword pierced his eye deeply enough to cause brain damage, cutting him off. Atoha yanked his sword handle to the other side, slicing through his brain and killing him as he screamed. Everyone believed it, with the exception of Kaharu. Anyone else want to refuse? We've got plenty of time and little enough conscience left to kill everyone else in this room without batting an eye. If you don't have enough of a conscience, why did you give him? Why give us a chance to repent? I just prefer giving people a chance to comply with my demands, that's all. Now, will you repent? Or die? Kaharu grumbled. The Anbu, who all backed Naruto, just stared at Tsunade. Neither. Anbu. Kill him for threatening and killing members of the village council. The 2 women with him are to be given the same punishment. Execute them now. Kaharu went pale as she recalled, "Don't bother. If you couldn't catch them earlier, what makes you think you can kill them now?" But when she saw her own headless body from where she was lying on the floor, she realized her error. Her last thought before she was engulfed in the icy embrace of death was, "I'm such a fool." The council's other members promptly gave up. In the center of one of the training grounds stood Atoha, Naruto, Hinata, Yurine, and Amafuriko. "So Naruto, what do you know about mobile combat?" replied Atoha. Atoha, Yurine, and Amafuriko shook their heads and sighed as Naruto and Hinata gave him a blank stare. Naruto laughed sheepishly and asked, "Naruto, how did you survive this long?" Probably a bit of luck here and there. Kyuubi helped out a bit. Other than that, I'm really not sure," replied Naruto. He put his arm around Hinata's waist after she came to embrace him. Atoha let out another sigh. Atoha clarified after observing Naruto and Hinata's perplexed expressions, "Well, let's fix that first. I don't want you to take an additional crash course in mobile combat. In case you're wondering, what I call mobile combat is fighting while moving through a forest, or a city, or whatever. Anywhere that there are vertical surfaces that you can jump off of. I got a crash course in mobile combat at the worst possible time, and I want you to be prepared for something like that. Now, I want you to start jumping through the trees around this clearing so that we can begin. Begin, now." Naruto disappeared into the trees. Atoha looked at Yurine in disbelief. "Think you can stretch our power a bit?" "What do you mean?" inquired Yurine. "Turn me and Amafuriko into Caris. Is that possible?" replied Atoha. Yurine paused to reflect. "I may be able to, but," Yurine said, faltering. Amafuriko said, "But what's wrong? Your powers will be lessened. You'll only be able to slow time, not stop it, unless you both invoke that power together, and your physical strength will be at human levels. That's the most I can manage. Everything else should be at their normal levels, but your time, control abilities and strength will be lessened," Yurine clarified. Amafuriko and Atoha exchanged glances and nodded. Atoha placed a hand on Yurine's shoulder and said, "Anything you can do is acceptable. Do what you can. Don't worry about anything else for now. Amafuriko, let's go. Let's torture Naruto for a little bit." Amafuriko grinned malevolently. This'll be fun. As directed by Atoha, Naruto was hopping through the trees when a bronze armored warrior swung a katana at him out of nowhere. A female warrior in light red armor was slashing at Naruto with a javelin after he backflipped and landed on a branch beneath the bronze clad fighter. As they chased after him, he swerved around them, leaping through the trees and avoiding them. What the devil? Calls. While side flipping to avoid a spear thrust, Naruto pondered. Bro. Atoha. Called Naruto. As the bronze warrior slashed at him once more, he cried out, what the hell is this? This is your training. We're not going to stop until you can strike one of us with a thrown weapon without stopping to take aim. The bronze warrior responded. In response, Naruto shouted, I was talking to Atoha. She laughed as the red-clad warrior materialized in front of him, swinging at him. Wait, he thought, that sounds like. He heard the red warrior respond with a laugh. No way, Amafuriko. As Atoha swung his katana at him once more, Naruto screamed and swung beneath a branch in the middle of his question. Then that means, Atoha, what kind of jutsu is that? It's awesome. Can you? Wah. Atoha retorted, it's not a jutsu, it cannot be taught. Naruto inquired, so, it's a keke genkai. Atoha shook his head and jumped through the trees, repeatedly slashing out at Naruto as they jumped together. Naruto let his instincts take over and used a pair of kunai to block and counter Atoha's attacks, which he watched with satisfaction. It's a blessing, a curse, a privilege, and a punishment, Atoha concluded. I don't follow. It's a blessing because, as a Caris, I now have the power to protect those I care about. It's a privilege because I've temporarily escaped death. It's a curse because you have to keep your Yurine alive because, not only is she the only one who can begin to understand us, but with her gone, I lose my power and vanish. And you have to leave your body behind. After deflecting and thwarting yet another round of Atoha's attacks, Naruto questioned, that's cool, but how is it a punishment? Atoha let out a sigh. Atoha turned to face Naruto and said, most of us are chosen because we know what true suffering is. And we're not nearly as adept at dealing with it as you are. Most Caris are people who have tried to commit suicide and pass on earlier than we were supposed to. I was one of the lucky ones. I found someone who didn't care that I couldn't feel pain or fear. He genuinely cared for me, he was a true friend. My becoming a Caris was punishment for all of the lives I took. My hands, at the age of 15, were stained with more blood than Kakashi's are now. Naruto was nearly knocked off his feet when Atoha, Raiji and I hatched a plan to escape and go to another country. However, we were caught on the way out of one of the Yakuza's safe houses and I was shot 3 times. I probably would have preferred dying at the time, because even though I was in the hospital, Raiji was being beaten daily during my first week as a Caris. When I found him, he was half dead. He could hardly think straight, and as I carried him out of the bar where they were holding him, my father, my brother, damn it, I don't want to call him either, but he was both. Genetically, at least. Naruto stopped him. Wait, wait, wait a minute. He was your father and your brother? How does that work? Asked Naruto. As Naruto gagged and stared, Atoha tried to conceal his disgust with his brother by saying, he and I were both born from the same woman, but he was conceived between her and his father. I was conceived between him and her, but as I was trying to get Raiji to a place where he could rest and recover, my father shot him. Raiji was dead before he hit the ground, and in my rage, I killed my own family. I killed my own father. Atoha took a bow. Atoha's eyes flashed red as he raised his head and said, my punishment was not being able to save my best friend. But, I won't let that happen again. I'm going to train you into the ground, pull you out, and then train you into the ground again. You'll be able to defend yourself, and I won't have to lose another of my friends. The 3 of them grinned. With resolve blazing in his eyes, Naruto exclaimed, Yash, let's get serious then, bro, I want to get strong enough to stand against anybody. From behind his helmet, Atoha grinned. Of course. A few hours later, Yurine, Amafuriko, and Hinata sat around a tree that was barely audible, while Naruto sat in a tree above Atoha. Atoha began, so, Naruto. They had just stopped a few moments earlier, and Naruto grunted, still panting. What's up? How did you cope with the pain of being alone, and being hated for so long? Atoha said quietly. Naruto's head dropped. At first, I didn't. I have a few scars from where I stabbed and cut myself. I can't tell you how many times I tried to commit suicide. I eventually stopped trying, and when the villagers tried to kill me, I put on a show, acted the way that riled them up the most. I figured they would do it. Atoha also took a bow. Naruto. I was pissed for a while at the old man for not letting me die. It's my life, I said. If I want to die, let me, I demanded. Every time he saved me, I would scream and yell at him, and every time I would break down and start crying. But eventually, I started to meet people who weren't cold or cruel to me, and some even went out of their way to be kind to me. They endured their friends turning against them. They let everyone else persecute and mistreat them for the sake of a child whose only crime was living. And that child didn't even know why this was such a horrible crime, and he didn't even care. He wanted it to end. All the pain, sadness, the cold stares, the hatred, the loneliness. Naruto wiped the tears from his eyes, hearing Hinata's. Even though it hurt, he would answer Itoha's question even though he wanted to stop and not tell the rest of the story because Hinata would be better off not knowing. When I finally entered the ninja academy, I met one girl who didn't care what everyone else thought of me. In fact, before I had even said a single word after entering the building, she just walked up and hugged me, telling me not to be so sad anymore. It was the single kindest thing anyone my age had ever said or done in my life up to that point. I damn near cried, and that was when I decided that I would protect this Hinata girl, no matter what happened to me in the process. We rarely interacted after that, but I still kept a close eye on her as she walked home every day. My spirits rose dramatically after that day, and I found myself with such a surplus of energy that I needed an outlet. So I became Naruto Uzumaki, prankster, king of Konoha. Naruto grinned. I realized that when I was really peeved, or really sad, I could just make my pranks more intense. That was how I coped until I graduated. Itoha grinned. He inquired, and after you graduated? Naruto gave him a downward glance. Well, I'd take a mission that made me push myself. Only Iruka Sensei and the old man knew about it. According to them, I was about Kakashi's level in everything except Genjutsu by the time I went on my first C-rank mission, but they told me to keep it a secret for as long as possible. I still had enemies among the shinobi, and if word got out that Konoha's Jinchuriki was getting powerful, another war would start, and hundreds of lives, possibly thousands, would be lost unnecessarily. Naruto concluded. According to Itoha, I see. Itoha glanced at Amifuriko, Hinata, and Yurine and allowed himself a tiny smile. I would just train and do the jobs my father gave me. I wouldn't allow myself time to think. After I met you in your previous life as Raiji, I'd split my time between you, my training, and my jobs. My life was a lot less painful when I met them. I met Yurine first. She said that my soul had called out to her, and that she merely responded to that call. Even then, I suspected that there was another reason for her saving me from the abyss, but I eventually stopped caring. I started feeling a kind of emotional longing when I wasn't around her after a few years. It was the same story with Amifuriko, even though we met under completely different circumstances. Itoha laughed. I'll tell you the rest later. Let's get back to training. Itoha stood up. Let's go into the village. We need to get you a weapon. I have to hurry so I don't get caught. A girl around Naruto's age fled through the dense forests of Hai no Kuni while clutching a kunai. Inflicted shoulder wound, and several shinobi wearing kumo headbands pursued her. The girl's condition was appalling. She had multiple scratches on her torso and a few on her legs in addition to the kunai wound on her shoulder. Her lovely face was also marred by a number of cuts and scratches, from which blood poured, soaking her long, blonde hair, dripping onto her clothing, and spilling into the forest below. After a while, she lost her balance and cried out as she tumbled through the branches for several dozen feet. A worried voice yelled, "Kitten," in her head. No, they'll return me to him. I'm unable to return. The girl's eyes widened in terror as she thought. The voice in the girl's head said, "Kitten, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is nearby. I'll call to them and see if they can help. Tell them to hurry, please, I'd rather not return to him. Help me, Q. Jinchuriki." Naruto abruptly froze and stiffened before yelling as he and Itoha were leaving a Konoha gun store. He only said, "Nibi is close. I gotta help her," before disappearing, leaving Itoha in a state of confusion. What the hell? As the fallen Kunoichi struggled to crawl to safety, the three Kumo shinobi gradually closed in on her. As she extended her forearm, one of the men sneered and stepped on it, asking, "And just where do you think you're going, cat bitch?" The girl screamed as soon as a loud snap echoed through the forest. The girl's eyes grew even more terrified at the mention of the raikage, and she began attempting to drag herself away with her other hand. However, the ninja who had spoken first noticed her attempt to escape and pinned her to the ground with his foot. "Hey, let's hurry up and get her back to the village. Raikage. Sama's gonna be pissed at us for taking so long." With a sick smile on his face behind his mask, the man said, "Come on, man, didn't he say that he didn't care what state she was in when we brought her back? Look at the bitch. Even though she's the hottest kunoichi in the village and she has that succubus in her, she's still a virgin. I wouldn't mind feeling how it is inside her, would you?" The other three quickly followed suit. "No," the girl thought, closing her eyes tightly as the leader unzipped his pants and the men dragged her to her knees. "Not like this. Before she heard a voice she never imagined hearing, the men gasped and dropped her to the ground, interrupting her thoughts. I wanted it to be special, not. The girl's eyes widened as she turned to face the voice's origin. That'll be quite enough of that in the territory of my village, boys. She was as stunned by what she saw as her pursuers were. The 6.5 footman in front of them was dressed in a long, white coat that hung down to his ankles. His hair was as wild as a tropical storm and was a vivid yellow, almost golden, color. He was dressed in dark green Anbu pants, a Konohajunin vest, and sandals that matched. With icy sapphire eyes, the man glared at the 3 Kumo men. Why Yandaime, Sama, the girl said, her head falling back to the ground as her strength failed her. Yandaime approached and knelt next to her. He said, you're going to be fine. The Yandaime gave her a soft smile and reassured her, saying, don't worry. He stood and turned to face the 4 men, saying, just close your eyes and rest. What is your business with this girl? She's a shinobi of Kumo, Lord Yandaime. She left the village without permission, and we were sent to retrieve her. The leader of the Kumo ninjas stated. Somehow I get the feeling that there's something you're not telling me. Why send the Kumo lightning strike after her and not just a few normal Junin? The man with the blonde hair replied. She's the Jinchuriki to the Nibi no Nekomata, sir. She's a vicious beast and extremely dangerous. If she isn't kept. The Yandaime interrupted, raising his hand and giving him a stern look. Then Yandaime yelled, speak no further. The Kumo shinobi instantly stopped talking. He picked up the girl gently and said, come with me. The blonde turned to glare at them and said, you're going to speak to the 5th. And by the way, the blonde grinned and the 5 Kumo ninja saw his whisker lines and teeth. I'm not the 4th, I just look like him. Naruto's smile turned sly as he said, you're going to be so busy trying to calm Godem. Sama down, you won't be able to think of anything else. And I'm going to enjoy the whole show. For the umpteenth time since her hospital admission, the blonde girl began to ask, are you sure it's alright for me to? For the first time. How many times do I have to say it? It's fine. Just don't tell anyone that you're a Jinchuriki and you'll be treated just like any other poor soul who's come for refuge from the cruelties of another village. Naruto responded once more. The girl nervously glanced around. Are you sure? Just relax and rest. The 5th has absolutely nothing against Jinchuriki, trust me. The villagers themselves, well, that's another story. The girl pressed. How can you be so sure about the 5th? With a sigh of frustration and laughter, Naruto lifted his shirt and smiled as he directed chakra to his stomach, revealing his seal to the girl's astonishment. You're one too? Yep. And she knows, too. She's like my adoptive grandmother. Which reminds me, I've gotta go see how those blockheads are doing. You let the nurse know if you need something, alright? Hey, Ino. Ino entered the room shortly after he called her name. Naruto, Ino uttered, fighting the urge to yell. This is a hospital. You do realize that, right? Yeah, sorry. But listen, I need a favor. Could you take care of, what's your name again? Yugito and Ino exchanged glances, with Yugito wearing a is he for real? Expression and an apologetic smile from Ino. Naruto grinned and said, it's Yugito. Yugito ni. What? Ino waved him away, saying, ni Yugito, huh? It fits. Could you keep her comfortable, Ino? Naruto nodded gratefully as he leapt out the window, saying, yeah. Get to wherever it is you need to be, Naruto, and step on it. If I know who you're going to see, she'll be real pissed if you're late. And use the fucking door next time. Ino yelled after him through the next window. With a smile and a bow, Ino turned to Yugito and said, what's the use? He never listens to anyone. My name is Ino Yamanaka, and it's my pleasure to be of assistance to you during your stay in Konoha Central Hospital. Less than a half second after Naruto peered through Tsunade's door, her chair crashed into the wall, and he instantly snapped his head back out. Tsunade yelled, don't you fucking start that talk with me. Silently, Naruto entered the vents and made his way to the vent above the office. Tsunade yelled, staring directly at the vent he was seated over, Naruto, if you want to watch then fucking get in here, stay quiet, and stay the fuck out of my way. After a brief pause, Naruto emerged smirking and leaning against the window with his arms folded. Naruto questioned Tsunade's first apprentice, who was cowering behind a potted plant in fear as Tsunade resumed her tirade against the 4 Kumo ninja. So how long this time, Shizune? She whimpered. They didn't even finish getting through the door. As quietly as possible, Naruto laughed. With an even bigger grin, Naruto said, we'd better get the body bags ready. Shizune gaped at him in amazement. How can he not be afraid? He isn't concerned because Tsunade. Sama will strike him so forcefully that half of his bones will break in. Wait. Of course. Recalling that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, Shizune pondered. Broken bones, for example, will mend almost immediately. At the same time, Sununade continued to lash out at the 4 Kumo shinobi, saying, he has nothing at all to fear. One of the Kumo shinobi, who appeared to be the leader, opened his mouth to say, it's bad enough that you were doing this in Konoha territory, but going so far as to rape this girl, simply because her body houses a biju? I would be well within my rights as Hokage to kill you myself, but quickly shut it again. If you've got something to say it before I change my mind. The man shrank under her gaze as she pulled an incredibly thick book out of nowhere and turned through it until she reached a particular page. I don't think you are permitted by law to execute the shinobi of another village, she said. That, in my opinion, encapsulates your error. Territorial Law, Article 15. Section 8. Clause 22. Paragraph 19. The lord, lady, and/or village leader may, should they so choose, have any individual, whether a shinobi or other warrior, or a civilian criminal, prosecuted to the full extent of the law should this individual be caught committing any crime in the territory of the lord, lady, and/or village leader's village, regardless of said individual's native village. The Kumo nin exchanged terrified glances as Sununade yelled, try learning about the laws you think you're breaking before you go off spouting that bullshit. To stop her from murdering the poor saps, Naruto had to construct a glass wall infused with chakra an hour later. What the fuck, Naruto? Allow me to murder the jerks, at him, Sununade yelled. Killing them is too simple, Sununade. Even though you might not want to acknowledge it, Shizune and I typically bear the brunt of your outbursts. As the Kumo men gazed at him, hope beginning to shine in their eyes, they said, Jiraiya-sensei actually left primarily because your anger terrifies him. Why don't we torture them for a while? The Kumo nin immediately began looking for an exit, and when they couldn't find one, they knelt down and began pleading for forgiveness. Naruto just laughed. I apologize to everyone, but the third time you said something incorrectly, it was beyond my control. If I know Our Lady Hokage, you will end up with 2 mouths, 2 assholes, and an honest.to. Kamai pussy, so you might as well hope that the circle of hell you end up in is incredibly gentle. The bad news is. The Kumos thought, bad news? What could be worse than that? As he leapt out the window to rejoin Toha, Yurine, Hinata, and Amifuriko, Naruto yelled, that's just her warm-up exercises. The Kumo nin began to whimper. Hinata turned to face the Hokage tower and assumed a pose that both Yurine and Amifuriko were familiar with. In fact, they had adopted the pose innumerable times over the previous 50 years when they attempted to surprise Glompa Toha, but they were never apprehended. But when Naruto returned, nothing could prepare him for what he saw when he stopped. All he saw was Hinata's face as she simultaneously kissed him and tackled him to the ground. While the other 3 beings in the clearing laughed uncontrollably for a while, and the lone spirit laughed out loud, which was unusual for them given their knowledge of him. Tenshi-chan, wow. Naruto laughed as he assisted Hinata in standing up, saying, that was surprising. So, who is Nibi? Naruto.kun. Though Naruto could see the hidden steel in her innocent face and hear the danger tone in her voice, the girl asked sweetly. Well, I just met the girl today, so I'm not really sure. She claimed to be Yugito, and she seems like a decent person. She would have been raped if I hadn't arrived when I did. Here are the 4 in question. Currently occupied with Granny Sununade, but I seriously doubt that anyone other than Grandma is finding it enjoyable. What precisely is she doing to them, then? Hinata inquired, and when Naruto shuddered before speaking, she had a hunch that she wouldn't like the response. When he trailed off, Toha gave him a raised eyebrow and said, and that's just when she finishes warming up. They're each going to have 2 assholes, 2 mouths, and a pussy when she finishes. By the time she's halfway through with them, I wouldn't be shocked if they were totally different. Hinata and Yurine gazed at Naruto in shock and disbelief, saying, hey, if they had attempted to rape you, you would have killed them, wouldn't you? However, they would be getting away with it if you had. I would make sure they suffered, but I'm not sure about you. Let's get back to work, bro. They resumed their work until a few hours later, when Neji arrived to witness Naruto and Toha engaged in combat. Both of them were brandishing katanas, and their blades flashed as they struck so quickly that Neji almost had to use his Byakugan to keep up. How are you, Neji? Naruto inquired. Avoid it. Stab. Blocked. Rebuttal. Your fight against Kiba. Parry. It's going to be a week from today. Horizontal cut. Blocked. Parry. Stab stab slash, vertical slash, duck block slash, and stab stab slash. Astonishment. As Itoha struck Naruto on the side of the head with his sheath, all of the non-combatants flinched. "Fucking dude!" Naruto screamed, holding his head as he tried to defend himself against the viciousness of Itoha's assault with only his sword hand. "That's great, Neji. I got it. 1 week from now. See you later." Whack. "Sanuva bitch." "Ow?" Neji whispered to Hinata. "Naruto is going to have a terrible headache tomorrow morning." Hinata merely chuckled. "How are you, Naruto?" Itoha questioned a trembling Naruto. No, I'm not alright. My best friend is going to fight me because he can't get over the fact that my girlfriend doesn't love him back. He's probably going to try to kill me, and no matter how hard I try, I can't get through to him." Naruto responded, pacing uneasily. "I feel like I'm going to pass out. My nerves are so shot." Then inhale deeply. "Be steady. Quiet your mind and stop thinking." Naruto followed Itoha's instructions and quickly felt at ease once more. "Follow the battle ahead, and not who you are fighting," Itoha said. "I'm grateful, buddy." Naruto looked gratefully at Itoha and then at the clock, saying, "I feel better now. I'd better go out now." As Naruto turned and strode out to the arena, Itoha watched and wished me luck. Good luck. Uto stands in arenas. The great majority of those in attendance hoped that the Uzumaki boy would put the Inuzuka mutt in his proper place. What the devil is Naruto doing? By now, he ought to have arrived. If he doesn't come, I'm going to kill him. Ino was furious. Ino stared at Shino in disbelief as he explained, "Ino, one of the conditions of the fight was that if they didn't show up, then the person who didn't show would be killed." "Are you serious?" Ino looked at Shino in disbelief when he shook his head, saying, "Naruto had better come. Who came up with that idea?" When there was a loud explosion in the arena, Shino responded, "From what I can gather, Kiba suggested it." "Am I running late?" "So you made the decision to attend." "I was starting to believe that the mighty," Kiba began, but Naruto cut him off. "Even I won't be able to prevent the Anbu from killing you where you are if you complete that." "Don't, please," Kiba scowled. "All right. Shall we get started?" Kiba turned to face the proctor and said. "The contest for Hyuga Hinata's hand between Uzumaki Naruto and Inuzuka Kiba starts right away," he said, then leapt away, leaving Naruto to stand motionless. "Kiba, please don't do this. I'd rather not fight you." "Unfortunately, monster. I really want to kill you." Kiba darted forward, swiping at Naruto with his clawed nails, which Naruto simply dodged. "Fight me." Kiba, "No, you're not thinking clearly." Naruto answered, "Let's stop this, you can relax, and we'll discuss this." "No, demon. You can't fool me. I'll murder you, it's gone. The Naruto I knew," Kiba said. "Now that you've taken control of his body, I'll kill him if doing so will release his soul. I'll have Hinata after that." At this, Naruto scowled. "Kiba, you won't free anyone by killing me, and Hinata won't want you at all. What do you think will happen?" In an attempt to get Kiba to think more clearly, Naruto said, "You'll realize, too late, that you've killed a friend. You'll fall out of favor with your clan and the Hokage. The villagers will despise you as most of them used to hate me. And Hinata will inescapably, irrevocably hate you for the rest of time. Do you really want to endure that for a moment of triumph? Will you be able to bear that pain, knowing that everyone you know and love hates you? You can't trick me as you have the rest of the village. Once you're dead and Naruto is free, they'll realize that I was the one who freed them. I'll be a hero for finishing you off," Kiba said, causing Naruto to let out a. Naruto assumed his battle stance and charged into combat with Kiba, saying, "I see. So there's no reasoning with you, then, so be it. Kiba, I'm sorry." After sidestepping an overhead slash and dodging a horizontal claw swipe, Naruto delivered a forceful punch to Kiba's stomach that forced air out of his lungs. After that, Naruto delivered a vicious barrage of blows that left the young Inuzuka sprawled on the ground. Kiba got back up fast and lunged at Naruto once more. Naruto merely dodged Kiba's horizontal slash before Kiba swiftly followed up with an uppercut slash. After avoiding both blows, Naruto returned fire with two of his own. After clearing it with a shake of his head, Kiba performed a series of hand signals. Shikyaku no Jutsu. Kiba snarled as he fell to his knees and his appearance became more savage. Kiba lunged forward. Suga. Naruto waited until the last second, then struck the spinning Inuzuka with his fist, completely halting his forward motion and sending him crashing into a wall across the arena. Kiba stumbled back to his feet, and Naruto saw it. "Kiba, stop." Kiba roared, "Never," and leapt again, claws out, but Naruto just held up his hand. Daitapa. The Inuzuka was blasted by a tremendous gust of wind. With a sickening crunch, Kiba slammed into the wall before collapsing to the ground and remaining there. The winds were so strong that the audience members almost fell out of their seats. Naruto said, "I'm sorry, Kiba. I tried to make you see sense, but you couldn't. Farewell, my foolish friend," before turning to leave. In his guilty mind, he failed to see that Kiba had not been properly defeated. Kiba silently and swiftly rose to his feet, clenching his clawed fingers, and charged at Naruto, who turned around as soon as he saw him, giving him just enough time to. Blood flew, and the spectators gasped. The boy looked down at the hand piercing his chest and clutching his heart, which had been severed from the blood vessels that supplied the life, giving fluid to the rest of his body, and their eyes widened as blood poured out of his body, leaving the ground a deep crimson. With wide, horrified eyes, the boy turned to face the girl he loved sitting in the stands. As the other took his hand off his chest and gazed down at the body that had been his friend, he muttered, "I'm sorry. Hinata. Chan." His eyes glazing over in death. "Hinata is mine." Medics shouted, "No," and rushed onto the field, pushing Kiba roughly aside. With her eyes welling with tears and her hands clenched around the railing until her knuckles were white, Hinata yelled at the blonde's corpse, "Naruto, you promised me you'd win," as the medics attempted to save him. She screamed, "You promised we'd be together," even after the medics realized what the Inuzuka had done. People who didn't even know the blonde were moved to tears as Hinata screamed, "You promised me forever, Naruto." Her anguish was audible throughout the village. She tried to scream at him one last time, but her voice broke. Hinata's screams turned to sobs as she said, "Naruto, you lied to me." She then turned and buried her face in her father's robes, even as the man was crying as he held his daughter. "Naruto. Minato. The Hinata, what did I do?" As this was going on, Atoha, Yurine, Amafuriko, and the other members of the Konoha 10 gazed at the blonde knucklehead's corpse. Tenton exclaimed in shock, "No. No way. This is some kind of joke. Right, guys. I mean, Naruto is. Naruto. He can't die. Right." She exclaimed, causing the others to stare at her as if she were insane. Tenton called out to Naruto, laughing and crying, "Hey, Naruto. Come on out. That's a pretty cool trick, how you got your clones to be able to bleed like that. You even had the medics fooled." She chuckled, then began to hiccup and cry. "That's a good one. I guess you weren't called the prankster King of Konoha for nothing, huh?" she said. While everyone else just stared at Naruto numbly, oblivious to everything around them, including Hinata's screams, she whispered, "Naruto, wake up. It's not funny anymore." As Uzumaki Naruto passed away, no one in the village noticed the rain clouds building and the moon shifting strangely to obscure the sun. The mind of Naruto. "I'm sorry, Sonia." Sonia gave him a startled look. "Why are you apologizing, Naruto? He caught you by surprise. You still considered him a friend. A misguided friend, but still a friend nonetheless." Naruto said, "But that's why I'm apologizing." Naruto knelt down and bowed, saying, "When I die, you disappear from existence altogether, right? I'm dying because of a stupid mistake on my part, and you're about to disappear altogether." When they heard crazed laughter echoing through the room, Naruto and Sonia both jumped up and looked around, saying, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you can't go back home because of me." The voice, full of hate and supported by an eternity of pain and madness, asked, "So, you're really this weak? I can't wait to steal your soul." As he began to leave the room, Naruto stood, his eyes hardening. Sonia began, "Where are you, Naruto? I'm going to find whoever or whatever that was, and put them in their place. This is my mind, and I won't be insulted here," said Naruto. Naruto smiled back at Sonia before venturing into his own mental space. A while later, Naruto discovered a mass of black that convulsed and radiated a sense of hopelessness and despair as it swirled and folded in on itself, expanding and contracting. Naruto demanded, "What are you and why are you in my mind?" The black mass let out a laugh. The mass screamed at him, shooting out and enveloping him, "I am the darkness, and you are my puppet." When it melted away and disappeared, Naruto stood unharmed, looked at his hands, his eyes glowing a sinister yellow, and laughed. "This body will be the best I have had in a long time." Actual world. The stadium was enveloped in a pervasive darkness as the moon swiftly moved to fully eclipse the sun. "Someone turn on the lights," Sununade yelled rapidly. This was not to be, however, as they all noticed sparks emanating from the location of the floodlights and heard the sound of glass breaking. Sununade shouted commands for someone to promptly light up the arena, and everyone turned to stare in shock. Then it began. From within the arena came crazed laughter, a raspy sound that would irritate anyone. The laughter was not of the sort that any human being could have. It described a lonely madness, an eternal agony, of the dark. Terrified, Kiba exclaimed, "What? What is this? What's going on?" Hiashi gasped in surprise as he searched the field with his Byakugan up in the stands. All of the Hyuga surrounding him stared in shock or cried out in astonishment at what had happened to Naruto, and they all turned their Byakugan on as well. It was frightful. He was almost invisible to the Byakugan because of the black, evil chakra that filled his chakra system. Two snake-like things emerged from his shoulder blades, and four black tendrils emerged from his back. That seemed to be made entirely of blackness. In addition, Naruto's eyes and the eyes of the serpents that grew from his back appeared to glow a pale, sickly yellow light when he opened them. Together, these elements created a terrifying image of a sinister creature that would kill anyone without hesitation. Then he made a move. As Naruto appeared to examine Kiba, two of the tendrils on his back tensed and shot forward to impale him through the shoulders. This lifted Kiba up and yanked him to Naruto, where he was held suspended and paralyzed by fear and agony. "This is it?" Naruto asked in a harsh, menacing tone. As both serpents reared back and then shot towards Kiba, only to freeze an inch from his face, Naruto uttered, "This is what killed my host. How pathetic. It's time for you to die, mutt." As he fought for control, Naruto gripped his head and grunted in agony. After a while, his eyes stabilized and he turned to face Kiba while panting. Weary, he said, Kiba? Kiba, are you dead, too?" When Kiba merely shook his head, Naruto grinned. Kiba nodded and said, "We're both still alive. Good. I'm glad." Naruto fell to his knees, letting Kiba fall to the ground as the tendrils supporting him retracted into his back. Naruto said, just loud enough for Kiba to hear, "Kiba, I'm sorry." Panting in agony, Kiba questioned, For what?" Naruto gave a pitiful smile. "For this." Naruto punched Kiba, knocking him unconscious by slamming his head into the ground. Shortly after leaving the arena, Naruto was on the ground with Hinata on top of him, her arms wrapped around his neck, her face buried in his shoulder, and his jacket soaked with tears. Hinata sobbed, "NN Naruto. Don't ever do that again." After the incident, Naruto slowly sat up and put his arms around Hinata, who was still crying and hiccuping into his shoulder as he held her. Please, don't scare me, L. Like that, eh? Again," he said. She whimpered, "Thought you were dead." Holding her close, Naruto reassured her, "Shh. It's okay. I'm here now. It's all gonna be okay." After observing them for a short while, Hiashi cleared his throat, which prompted Naruto to give him a glare that almost made him throw up. Hiashi nodded and began to slowly back away. "There he goes. Like the Yondaime, using the look. I really should investigate that." Hiashi disappeared, leaving Naruto to console Hinata. "I think I'll go check up on Hanabi," Hiashi said. He was unaware, though, that the two had planned it. Hinata had been soothed as soon as he had put his arms around her. "Well," she said in a whisper. "Did he?" laughed Naruto. Hinata laughed when he said, "I think it would have worked better had I shot him a Kyuubi-enhanced, evil eye. He probably would have shit himself." "Ah. He didn't?" Hinata laughed and they both stood up. "Sadly, no. He came pretty damn close though, and damn. Does he ever wash his ass? I could smell that shit from here," Hinata said. "Hinata, I'm sorry for scaring you. I honestly didn't see that coming until the last second. If you want, I could make it up to you by buying you dinner," said Naruto. Playfully, Hinata narrowed her eyes. "Uzumaki Naruto. Are you asking me on a date?" she replied. Naruto was clearly amused and having a hard time suppressing his laughter based on the expression on his face. He smirked amusedly and said, "Why yes I am. Hyuga Hinata. Meet me at, say, 7:30 by the oak in the park." Hinata laughed once more. "Alright, 7:30, oak in the park. You'd better be on time, Naruto-kun." With a mock, hurt tone, Naruto exclaimed, "Why Hinata? If I didn't know any better, I would think that you assumed that Kakashi-sensei was rubbing off on me." Hinata said, "Maybe I am." With a playful gleam in her eye, after laughing, Naruto did something unexpected for Hinata. He took her by the rear and threw her over his shoulder while maintaining a firm grip. "Eep, and Naruto-kun," shuddered Hinata, giggling. Naruto simply gave a cheeky smile. Hinata squeaked as Naruto squeezed her ass. "What? I still gotta let everyone else know that I'm okay, don't I? And besides, I rather like carrying you this way, now that I think on it." Hinata's face flushed bright red at this remark, and she gave him a cheeky smile as he bounded off in the direction of the others. So, does he want to play that game? Thoughtfully, Hinata reached around Naruto's waist and toward his crotch. As soon as she got there, she grabbed him, causing him to trip and fall in front of their friends, who gave him a weird look before laughing when they realized where Hinata's hand was. Naruto began to perspire. His whimper, "Hinata! Chan!" caused Hinata to laugh and let him swing her around in his arms. This elicited another squeak of surprise and a giggle before he locked his lips to hers, put her down, and turned to face the others. Tenton threw a flurry of kunai at Naruto, who flinched and said, "Sorry for the scare, guys. I didn't intend on that." After saying, "You jackass. Do you have any idea at all how bad you scared us, Iota?" Tenton found herself kissing Neji and quickly forgot her anger. Everyone turned to Lee, who shrugged, and everyone except the two started to perspire. Everyone's eyes widened as he said, "This is new to me, too. What?" After Tenton threatened to castrate Neji and everything was explained, the group, which included Atoha, Yurine, and Amafuriko, was discovered laughing and having a good time while strolling through the shopping district. Atoha turned to face his partner as Naruto asked, "So bro, how exactly did you become a Caris? I'm curious." Yurine just nodded and shrugged. "Simply put," Atoha said, "I died." "Hold on a minute, you said you died? Then how the hell are you here?" asked Hinata. Atoha gave a thin smile. Atoha trailed off, his smile turning to a frown as he reflected, Yurine is a unique spirit. Though she is incapable of participating directly in combat, she has the ability to empower others with incredible fighting power. However, when Atoha explained, the ninja around the three appeared captivated. You have to die or go into a coma before she can even do anything. At that time, if she deems you worthy, Yurine will draw you to a separate plane of existence and forge a covenant with the spirit, and thus is a Caris born. A Caris has one task, and only one. A Caris must defend the stability of their city. If the humans of the city die, so too will the Yukai. And vice versa. A Caris is tasked with preventing this. At that point, Shino spoke up. "If that is the case, and you are a Caris, what happens to your city now?" he inquired. "The city will create a new Yurine, who will, in turn, find a new Caris. The Yurine is the spirit of the city given form. The only way to truly eliminate a city's Caris is to kill the Yurine. The only way to truly kill a Yurine is to destroy the spirit of the city. The only way to destroy the spirit of the city is to wipe out all Yukai. The only way to destroy all Yukai is to exterminate all humans in the city. The only way to exterminate all humans in the city is to defeat and destroy the Caris," Yurine said. Naruto stared and asked, "Do you understand?" Naruto turned to Hinata and shook his head, saying, "As screwed up as that all sounds, it somehow makes sense. Tenshi. Chan, I've gotta go check up on Ni, you want to come with?" Hinata replied. She nodded and grinned. After giving her a quick peck on the cheek and grinning, Naruto took her hand and headed for the hospital. Hospital in Konoha still holding hands, Naruto and Hinata approached the receptionist's desk and laughed over a joke that Naruto had told. The receptionist looked up and grinned broadly as they got closer. With a smile, she said, "Uzumaki-kun, what can I do for you today?" As upbeat, Naruto said, "I'm just here to visit someone, Kira. Chan. Could you tell me where Ni Yugito's room is located?" Kira glanced at Yugito before turning back to Naruto. "Room 347, Uzumaki-kun. She's been cleared to go, but she wanted to wait for you first. Is she a second girlfriend, by any chance?" Kira asked. Naruto's face flushed. "Kira. Chan." He almost cried out in shame. Naruto turned away, still red in the face, and almost pulled Hinata away from the desk. "I just met her a week ago. There's no way we could be together already," he said. He called back to her, "Thanks, Kira. Chan," as he and Hinata rushed off. Yugito pondered what had caused her to leave Kumo while sitting in her room and gazing out the open window. It wasn't the Reikage himself. On the contrary, he and Karabi made the most ideal family. However, they couldn't be present all the time. No, she had decided to leave Kumo because of their complete inability to assist her. 2 weeks ago, when she tried to sneak out of her house, the Reikage, and his brother Karabi caught her doing so and asked her what was going on. Yugito had been itching to tell them that she was just going on a mission and would return in a few weeks, but she had been unable to do so. However, she was unable to. She was too familiar to her surrogate brothers, who were able to tell when she was lying and when she was upset, so she gritted her teeth and told them everything. Despite their admiration and love for Karabi, the majority of the civilian population detested her. The council wanted to abuse her body and turn her into a sex slave, and the male civilian population was always trying to rape and subdue her. She made the decision to leave because she could no longer stand the harassment, hate, and rape attempts. Reluctantly, and Karabi had given their beloved surrogate sister a 3-day head start before pursuing her with the lightning strike. Recalling tales of their Jinchuriki as a good-hearted, considerate young man who always put the needs of others before his own, Yugito had immediately left the gates of Kumo and headed toward Konoha, concluding that he was her best chance of safety. After almost a week of arduous travel, she had been about 20 miles from Konoha when they finally caught up to her and pushed her to the ground. Then, he was here. Of course, she had heard the stories. The Yondaime. A ruthless, malevolent individual who would murder without hesitation. Regardless of his own wounds, he was a kind, compassionate man who would defend the defenseless. How the entire conflict between Iwa and their allies had been swung in favor of Konoha and their allies by him alone. Utilizing just one jutsu. It was one thing to hear the stories, yes, it was another matter entirely to see him. She almost felt her breath catch in her throat at his mere presence. She had tingled because of the warmth and confidence he radiated, and his eyes. She sensed that she was losing herself in those stunning azure eyes. Yugito laughed to herself and shook her head. Naruto. Sama's resemblance to the Yondaime is rather amusing. I was even duped by him. When he informed us that he wasn't the Yondaime, the expressions on their faces must have been priceless. I wonder if they have some sort of connection. Since they nearly look the same, they must be, she pondered. Yugito's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly with a strange feeling that she couldn't quite identify before Naruto spoke to her, and the door opened almost as if on cue to let in the blonde who was on her mind and another girl who appeared to be quite smitten with him. Yugito's cheeks began to flush as Naruto said, "Oi, Yugito-san, genki desu ka? They said that you're well enough to leave, are you ready?" In response, Yugito said, "Hi, Naruto. Sama," but when she noticed Naruto frowning, she began to panic. Oh no. Did I say something incorrectly? Did I make a mistake? Yugito thought frantically. Hold on a minute. What's causing my panic? It shouldn't make a difference, must it? Yugito-san. You don't have to call me Sama, you know. Just Naruto-san would be alright. So calm down, will ya? Come on, let's get you to Granny Sununade and get you situated. Why were you running from Kumo, anyways? Naruto stated, surprising Yugito. Naruto. Sama, I feel. That it's... Naruto's shout caused the blonde girl to wince. Hinata and Yugito burst out laughing as Naruto exclaimed, No, why are you stuttering? You were totally fine last time I saw you. What happened? Talk normally or not at all. Hi. Naruto. Sama. And what did I tell you about calling me Naruto? Sama. No, Sama, damn it. Hi, Naruto. Tishu. I came to escape from Kumo because of how I was treated there, and I chose to pledge myself to you in exchange for sanctuary from Kumo's Hunter.nin. Yugito spoke softly. Naruto's eyebrows arched. With that, Naruto jumped off over the rooftops, Hinata and Yugito right behind him. Come on, he said, moving to the windowsill. Let's finish discussing this on the way to Sununade. Obaa. Sununade rubbed her eyes and moaned as she gave the piles of papers on her desk a fierce look. There had only been half a stack when she had gone to watch Kiba and Naruto fight. That sum now appeared to have increased fourfold during her absence. What on earth was the source of it? Fortunately, Hinata, Naruto, and the girl from Kumo, who had only spoken to Naruto, jumped in her window to provide a reprieve. Are you certain we should just jump in through the window, Naruto? Dono? Shouldn't we? The Kumo girl said. Sununade laughed as Naruto rolled his eyes. Naruto led the two girls through the window and said, Hey Chan, relax, Yugito. I do this all the time. She's more like a grandmother or a sister to me than anything else. Good evening, Hokage. Sama. Hi, Sununade. Sama. Sununade dismissed her paperwork, laughing at their antics. Sununade placed her chin on her folded hands and asked, What can I do for you three today? It was Naruto who raised his voice. Chan, Yugito. Chan needs a place to stay, and could we get her instated as a kunoichi of Leaf while we're at it? Yugito gazed in wonder at how he could address the Hokage, of all people, in such a flagrantly disrespectful way and not be punished for insubordination. In fact, the Hokage seemed to find it funny. As she watched Naruto look at her incredulously, Tsunade smirked and remarked, I think you've got more than enough room in your estate, don't you? I gave you a set of keys and a map on your birthday, didn't I? Haven't you moved into your parents' house yet? And as for our friend here, what rank were you in Kumo? Replied Tsunade. As Yugito said, Naruto scowled once more and raised a hand before Tsunade could respond. I was a Junin, Hokage. Sama. As Naruto turned to Yugito with a frown on his face, Tsunade grinned and laughed to herself, as did Hinata. Then Naruto lightly slapped her cheek and said, Naruto. Sama? What did I tell you about stuttering? No stuttering, he replied. Yugito began to say, but Naruto.sa. But Naruto interrupted her. No stuttering, no honorifics, damn it. If you want to pledge yourself to me, fine, but you're not gonna treat me like a superior, because I'm not one. Got it? My first order to you, since you insist on serving me, is that you'll treat me like a friend, and you will not stutter while talking to me, or in my presence. Got it? Naruto yelled. Naruto sighed as Yugito said, Hi, Naruto.san. Before Naruto could say anything more, Tsunade interrupted. I guess that's the best I'm gonna get from you, isn't it? Hinata had already buried her face in Naruto's shoulder while laughing uncontrollably. Alright, Yugito, we're going to have you go through 3 exams, a taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu, and see where you stand, alright? Yugito gave a nod. As it stands now, we'll need a few days to decide where to hold this exam, and who to pit you against. Naruto said, I can be her opponent in taijutsu and ninjutsu, Shan. Tsunade gave a nod. Alright, that'll work. As for genjutsu, we'll put you against Kurenai, as she's our best genjutsu user in the village. Unfortunately, I sent her out on a mission a couple of hours ago, so we'll need to wait for her to return before we can test her. For now, you can stay with Naruto in his home. He's got more than enough room. Tsunade concluded. Both Naruto and Yugito nodded uneasily, Naruto because, well, and Yugito because, she was bad at using nin and genjutsu without the nibi. Instead of his fiancée, who was now giving Yugito a Byakugan enhanced, evil eye, he would be sharing a home. Yes, Naruto is screwed.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.